Hello and welcome to the Blood Bowl Diaries episode 12 with me, Dr. Hellboy.
And me, TheFear.
We're back again. We said we would be back, Fear. We said we were coming back in 2024. Promise kept. We're back.
Well, absolutely, and it's good to be back. To be honest,
It is.
And,
it is good to be back.
Yes.
I've been thoroughly enjoying Blood Bowl again. I can't tell you how excited I am to be actually sitting down and talking on a podcast, because I've had some really fun Blood Bowl, and I can't wait to share that with people. And it's not about the results. It's about those moments in the games and the people that I'm with and stuff. So it's really starting to feel good again. What about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still struggling to play as much as I would probably like to, but I have found time to sign up to at least one tournament. So that's good. But yeah, I mean, I think at the moment I'm probably living slightly vicariously through yourself and one or two others in terms of actual gameplay.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. It's when real life gets in the way, it is sometimes difficult, and as it just so happens, the start of the year for me tends to be a little bit easier with work. I know I know the summer's going to be pretty heavy for me in the summer. I pretty much can't do anything in June and July, it looks like. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting kind of dip in the middle of the year for me. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But outside of our own personal stuff, of course, we've had some news from the international Blood Bowl scenes, haven't we? Euro Bowl people are starting to announce teams.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think since we last recorded, I think a friend to both of us, K-Foat, has been announced as the captain of Team England for Euro Bowl.
Yep, the mighty Dane leading Team England.
Well, and obviously came in full of vim and vigour and plenty of new ideas for, I think, how he wanted to approach the selection of the team. And I think he's now actually announced his first team.
He has indeed. He's announced a team for both Euro Bowl and Euro Open, and we're seeing certainly the Euro Bowl team. You've got some of the old hats, the old guard still there, but as stalwarts. You got your Pete W, your Goo, your Joe Manji, and obviously Core himself. And then we got four new caps coming in, including Breakmunker, who I know, who is I'm very excited to see on the team. I think Breakmunker's a fantastic coach, and I'm excited to see how all four of the new caps can step up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know much about any of them really. I mean, I think we've got Breakmunker. Was it L Planet 4?
Yeah, L Planet. Bulldog, but with an 8.
Yeah, and Bulldog
Rake.
with an 8, and the Rake as well.
Yep, the Rake.
The Rake, obviously, I think he's in the East Midlands now, but when he used to live in the West Midlands, so sort of fairly local to me, I know he used to win quite a lot of tournaments. So
I played the Rake end of 2022, I think it was, a team tournament. I don't know if you remember. Got a nice 1-1 draw with the Rake. Very good fun game, that one. Good fun.
And Bulldog with an 8. I think played on the same team as my good friend Speeding Bullet and Dragonborn at the World Cup, and
fantastic.
I think did a very handy sort of 6-2-1 or something like that. Apologies to Bulldog if I've got it slightly wrong with Orcs. So yeah, I mean, I think
fantastic.
Exciting time.
Really good to see.
And at the same time, brilliant to see Nippy back in the fold in the Euro Open team, along with. I think I saw Gegster was in there as well, so that's pretty strong.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, not those two absolute stalwarts for Team England historically. So yeah, really interesting to see how England have divided up and kind of gone for some tried and tested with then for half the team, and then the other half kind of new caps at that sort of higher international level, should we say?
Yeah, exciting times. And I don't suppose Team Wales has been announced yet, has it, Dr. Hellboy?
Team Wales has been announced. Fear, yes, Team Wales has been announced.
And congratulations in order.
Congratulations are in order. Yes, thank you very much. Yes, I am. I'm back in the team. I've been called up, captain's pick again. Couldn't qualify, but made it on captain's pick. So yes, it's absolutely really thrilling to be back in there, and that's partly why I'm quite excited about Blood Bowl again. I think I'd kind of stepped away from it in my mind a bit, but then when No Number, who's the Team Wales captain this time, contacted me saying, "Hey, do you want to be in?" I was immediately ready to say yes, and I was quite excited to say yes. So that's good.
So there's No Number and yourself. Who else have we got?
There's No Number, myself. There is Andy Davo. There is Gav Coleman. There is new cap in Lyra Cian. So Lyra Cian is known in the online community a bit, but also has kind of made a bit of a name for themselves in the tabletop scene by playing some very, very solid Dark Elves, which is great. So that's really exciting. Then we've got the return of Dionysian, aka Spence.
Oh,
so yeah,
that's a player to have to play, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And then obviously we got 20p. The former captain is back in the squad as well, qualified automatically from Malta, did 20p. And rounding it off is a player that you had tipped back when the selections for Poland were going to be happening, 2020 kind of time. You tipped Orkster as a potential Team Wales player, and Orkster has stepped up from the Euro Open last year into the Euro Bowl team this year.
That's fantastic. The best way to put it is, I always thought Orkster was maybe slightly went under the radar. I always thought he got some very good results, and whenever I watched him play, it's slightly, I don't want to say unique play style, because he's not like he's like moving everything backwards or anything like that, but just a slightly different kind of play style, I think, to some other people that I'd seen. So I think it's fantastic that he's made it. That sounds like quite an exciting mix of a couple of very experienced, very talented older hands in Davo and Spence, kind of returning to the team, I suppose, who weren't there last time. You've got a core of people in yourself and No Number and 20p.
And Gav Coleman as well. Solid.
Coleman,
and then we got the two.
And then a couple of, I suppose, new caps for Team Wales as well.
Yeah.
Kind of exciting players bringing something new. That sounds like an exciting team.
Yeah, for sure. And I think there's good energy in the chat with the boys and stuff. So yeah, no, it's definitely one to look forward to. And yeah, we'll be. As I say, it's partly why I'm back enjoying the Blood Bowl again. It's nice to be thinking about something, have a nice goal in mind, something nice high level goal in mind that I can kind of get my teeth into again.
Yeah, that's brilliant, mate. That's brilliant.
Yeah. That's a wonderful segue, right? Because I had actually intended to drop out of Super League at the end of last season. I'd even messaged Store, who's one of the admins on Super League, saying, "Hey buddy, I need to sit out Super League for a season," because you can pause. Obviously, they have a system where you can hold your ranking for one season if you need to pause. So my thought would have been, work's a little busy. I wasn't really enjoying Blood Bowl towards the end of last year as much. I'd played a couple of tournaments, but I wasn't really enjoying it. And I thought to myself, right, I'll just step away for a bit longer. And then I heard that Super League had the Euro Bowl rule set, got selected, and had to message Store saying, "Hey buddy, I actually need to play." So there we go. So I'm back in Super League again. Way, and and I'm having a great time. It's good fun.
What are you using?
So I'm kind of. So you remember when we talked last time about in the last podcast about me using Underworld and kind of my head hurting a bit and not really knowing how to play them and stuff like that. Do you remember that?
I do, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I decided that I was going to do something a bit wacky as well, and I've decided to do more things that make my head hurt. It's not vampires, but it is Slan. So I've gone with a Slan build because there's nothing I enjoy more than making my head hurt when I'm playing Blood Bowl.
You must be hopping mad.
I am indeed, mate. It's I can't think of a frog pun to get back with you. That was. Have you saved? Did you save that one up? Did you have that one ready?
Yeah, yeah. Been thinking about it all day.
So I've gone with Slan in that one. For a bit of fun. At the same time as wanting to take things seriously, I also wanted to have a bit of fun. I've taken a build that I'm now I've started to play it. I'm not massively happy with the build. I didn't really do the maths properly. So why take 4 catchers, right, when you can take 3 catchers, which are the best players on the team? So I'm kind of playing a man down the whole time. It feels like because I've only got 3 catchers. And I didn't take block on the Croxagore either. So
I've only really played them once in a Tackle Zone Star Division on Blood Bowl 2.
Oh yes,
yeah. There was I think there was an option of either randomly selecting your team for you, or you could pick it. And for some reason he got confused and thought I'd picked Slan.
I remember.
Remember this, yeah, and I just found them. I think the challenge is that you want to play them like an Edge team, but they're mostly just humans, and and I think, I mean, obviously there is you can get some real, you can get real mileage out of them. I mean, obviously people like Core and Purple Goo and 1 or 2 others have got some real mileage out of them in some rule sets. And I suspect in order to get good with them, you either have to be, one of those kind of Blood Bowl geniuses, kind of top 10 players in the world kind of situation, or you probably need to just play with them a bit.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that you probably get mileage out of them actually by just playing them until you know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I've played a couple of games with them now, and I think one of the main things I've noticed with playing them is you'll remember very well when I was in Tackle Zone Star Division with my Necro. You'll remember very clearly when I was saying things like, I just know which turn I need to base everyone. I just know what turn it is. Sometimes it is turn 1, sometimes it's turn 7, sometimes it's turn 4. But I just know. By the end of that season, I just knew the turn that I was going to just put everyone into base contact and say to the opponent, right, your turn, deal with that. And I think what I'm finding with the Slan at the moment is almost every turn you could sack the ball. But which is the turn to do it? And I'm just trying to find my way with that. In the same way as with the Necro, it's very much a no, not that turn. No, that isn't as good as it looks. Just wait. I'm trying to find the same kind of patterns with the Slan. And then, as you say, just remembering that they are just most of them are just strength 3, agi 3. So and also most of them don't have block or wrestle. So great,
Yeah, and I feel like they're not a team that people run into a lot. So if you become good with them, or at least the right side of average, then you probably get some good results.
Yeah, you get a good racial matchup. Yeah, absolutely. You can get a good racial matchup because, as you say, they're no longer in Blood Bowl. They're not in the Games Workshop don't recognise them, so they're not in Blood Bowl 3. People aren't playing Blood Bowl 2 anymore because it's the old rules. So you're not coming into contact with Kislev, which were just a reskin of Slan. and NAF tournaments, whilst that you are allowed to take them, not many people play them. So yeah, I absolutely agree. So it's good fun for me. Makes my head hurt, and I'm having a whale of a time.
Excellent. I love it.
So yeah.
I entered the back end of the last Super League as a sort of dropout replacement one. And I shall I'll probably just drop a team in a message store and say, if you get somebody drop out with like 4 rounds to go or something.
Great idea. Great idea. Because there always will be a dropout, real life, or people who just go, nah, I'm done with this now.
Well, having run the thing for its first couple of seasons,
indeed,
absolutely know that there's a boatload of dropouts that go on during the season.
Yep. No, it's a bit silly, isn't it? Right, well, shall I let you know how I've got on with... I've now played 2 games in it, because luckily my second round opponent is also going to Water Bowl this coming weekend. We're recording on the 4th of February at the moment, and it's Water Bowl next weekend. So luckily my second round opponent was also going to Water Bowl and thought it would be a great idea to also get that second round match in, so we're not having to worry about anything at Water Bowl. We can just focus on that. So before we get onto that one, though, so round 1... so bear in mind, Fear, I've played next to no Slan. I played a bit on Blood Bowl 2, but I didn't really play much. And when I say I played a bit, bear in mind this is in the old rule set with only 1 reroll a turn, on a UI that I no longer play on, and I think I probably played about. Probably maximum, including league, we're talking maximum 40 games, maybe 40, maybe 50 games, okay? And bear in mind, my Lizards on Blood Bowl 2 was something like 600 games, okay? Like, that's the kind of difference we're talking about in terms of experience. So my round 1 was versus a coach called Dynamics, and it was vampires.
Oh my god.
So round one, I've never played versus the new vampires. I haven't played Slan in literal years. And round 1 is versus the new vampires with a team I haven't played. Now, vampires, as you know, Fear, are one of those teams where you can sack the ball any turn. And Slan are also one of those teams where you can sack the ball any turn. And it was also pouring rain.
Oh my gosh.
So it was frogs versus vampires in the rain. For at least some of the match was in the rain. And the match basically started, the vampires received the kickoff
Can I just, before you get going, I feel like I just want to stop the podcast now and just go and watch this game.
I really wouldn't. It was horrific. Yeah. Anyone watching can go and watch it. It's on FUMBBL. It was horrific. We'll skip over a few things. The vampires caught the ball and got the ball safe. And I basically burned a load of rerolls trying to do things that failed for various reasons. And as I thought it was all done and dusted, like all over on their drive, and I was thinking about this going, great, I'm just going to have to somehow eke out a draw. The vampires suddenly all started bloodlusting. And the pitch position kind of fell apart, and in the space of 2 turns, the vampires went from basically a locked-on 1-0 to them into a locked-on 1-0 to me. And it was really, really bizarre. And I remember messaging Dynamics, and it was just like it was almost like the vampires had done nothing wrong for the first 5 turns, and then just out of nowhere, boom, boom. Team gone, ball mine, bye. So I ended up scoring on their drive to go 1-0. And I thought to myself, this is brilliant. Like, this is really good. But I'm playing versus vampires. So my drive went from being okay into, there goes a player, oh no, I've lost the ball, oh no, I've got the ball, oh no, I've dropped the ball. I can't pick the ball up because I've burnt all my rerolls and it's pouring rain. Let's just swarm everyone round the ball. Push me off the ball. I'll go back on the ball. I push you off the ball. You go back on the ball. And it was a really dig your nails in and cling on, a bit like it was a Rottweiler of a game for me. I hit a point where I was just like, right, I just need to hold this 1-0 and just hope that the vampires don't get the ball. And I just locked in, dug deep, very messy, very scrappy game, and I managed to get away with the 1-0 win.
It sounds hilarious.
I mean, it was. Now I look back at it, it was brilliant. It was ridiculous. I hadn't played Slan in ages, and my first round was vampires. Just perfect. You can't write the script. No easy. No. I don't know. Orcs first round, then maybe Amazons next round. Like things where you're kind of building. And you can kind of counter what they've got. No, it was straight into the vampires, being like, yeah, there you go, deal with that. And I hadn't played versus the new vampires.
I mean,
So that was fun.
tackle zones are basically meaningless in that game.
Yes, yeah. Skills were meaningless, mate. Skills were meaningless. Absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, no, got the 1-0, so I was quite happy with that, and I think I've started to try and look at the games as well, from a perspective of, with Euro Bowl in mind, looking at what am I gaining from each game, what's my learning from each game, and actually, for me to just sit down and kind of have some fun in that game, but also dig deep and get away with the win, was quite a nice mental thing. So even though my play, and if anyone chooses to watch it back, please don't take anything that I did as like slan gospel or anything like that. It was shocking. There were some really basic errors in there as well. But what I did get out of it was reminding myself that actually I can sit there and just dig deep and just get that win done at all costs, kind of thing. So that was good fun. That was really good fun.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, that's it. Sometimes, isn't it? Like, what learning with Euro Bowl preparation or big tournament preparation in mind? What learning do you want to take from the game? Well, you've actually just sat and played a game with the team. Like
Absolutely.
that's the starting point. It's the start of the road. It's the start of the journey. If that's your viewpoint, or if it's just well, I just want to learn how to be better with slan in general, then again, it's the same sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think. Yeah, I mean, I suspect that I might be looking at some playing vampires at some point soon as well. Try and get some vampire games in as well, just to try and learn the team. Even if I don't take vampires, it's about learning those matchups that are a bit weird, try and get the edge when you face them.
I think you're probably there in the curve at the moment where, most of the sort of, in inverted commas, normal teams, you're probably fairly comfortable that you know what they do. It is some of the weird and wonderful ones that probably get played a bit less. Although I think we're all going to see a lot of vampires getting played, to be honest.
Yeah, I suspect that vampires will make a good surge at the moment. So yeah, no, but it is great to see some good diversity. I'll just let me just see if I can find my Super League the division I'm in, because I've got a really good mix of teams in there actually, which is also really healthy from a perspective of learning to. Where are we? Yeah, here we go. Yeah, so I've got Norse, Imperial Nobility, Orc, Amazon, Vampire, Necro, and Wood Elves.
Oh, wow.
So that's a really nice mix of things. To be playing versus Norse, who obviously got a refresh recently. Nobility that I've played against a fair few times, but that's good to have. Amazon's also got their refresh reasonably recently. Vampires, obviously, and then I've got the experience playing, against and with Necro. I'm used to what Wood Elves can do, and I'm used to what Orcs can do. So it's a really nice mix of races there to kind of get stuck into with it.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yep, and so that was round one, and then round two was Padster. Padster with his Imperial Nobility. So I kind of went from a team that can pop the ball off you at any time in the same way as like I can do to them, into a team that can basically lock you down. All that stand firm, all that wrestle, can get quite unpleasant. Now, you know me, Fear. I've played so much lizards that the movement 8 one turn is not a problem, right? Movement 8 one turn with lizards not a problem. and Slan with a movement 7, obviously is completely within the wheelhouse. However, Imperial Nobility are obviously a team that come with a bunch of stand firms straight out the blocks.
Oh yes.
So that makes the one turn impossible. I've got no Juggernaut, so that makes the one turn just statistically it's impossible to do versus the 3 stand firmers. So I made a very active decision that I was going to go all out on Padster's drive. So Padster received the ball, and I was going to go all out to just try and sack the ball and enter the half at 1-1 at worst,
Yeah.
because I knew I didn't have the one turn. Padster played a really good drive, but Slan are kind of crazy, and I found myself, I think it was turn 3 or 4, like very very early game. I found myself in a position where I'd manoeuvred everyone into positions. A few dice rolls had occurred, but I was left with a 3+ leap, or pogo stick rather, into a 2 dice block, and then I've got frenzy on one of them, so that would then turn into a 1 dice to surf the ball carrier if I didn't power it. So
Okay.
I've got a 3-2-2, and it's a 2D into a 1D. And I thought to myself, right, well, this seems very viable. This early in the game, failed the 3+, which was a shame. And after that, it just kind of, Padster was very kind. I thought Padster played very well, but Padster did say that it seemed that I rolled a lot of 1s. And whilst you know me, I'm not complaining about dice. But when it was just one of those ones where those 2 pluses and 3 pluses just weren't coming off on his drive. And so whilst I feel I played the drive kind of okay, and I thought I went at the right moments, it was just one of those ones where you hit those small percentages where things don't happen, and it is what it is. So Padster was able to walk it in for the 1-0.
It's hard, because anyone that wants to improve at the game and sort of catapult themselves towards the upper echelons of play, at some point probably confronts the idea that it's not always helpful to pay too much attention to the dice rolls, because you can't control them, and you need to control you need to control what you can control. But the reality is that there are some teams, I think, and you mentioned you played Vampires before, and Slan are another team that, for them to work, you have to hit some situational dice. You have to. The whole the whole point of the team is that ability for everybody to leap and to get in on the ball and to be sort of, I suppose, quite aggressive defensively. But if you don't hit those 3 pluses at the right time, then it ain't going to work. And
with dodge, if you've got dodge on a player, unless you're obviously dodging away from tackle, you get a second bite at the cherry, right? A 3 plus becomes 89 rather than 66. But actually, here every single 3+ leap is 66, because you're probably not re-rolling in most situations. If you're just repositioning, you're probably just not re-rolling. So whilst you're if the risk reward, if the reward for leaping out of a situation or jumping out of a situation is a lot higher, I'd say, than some of the other teams that can dodge out of a situation, the reward for that is higher. But your risk for failure, you have to be really careful around turn ordering with Slan, which is why I'm enjoying playing them. It's my kind of thinking Blood Bowl.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just think it's like, I think what I found with them is that it probably ended up taking more armor checks than I was comfortable with, because of the stuff getting knocked over, and then some of the failed leaps, and all of a sudden you're like, but armor 8 only lasts so long, or 9+.
9+,
yeah. So it is interesting, and an interesting challenge. But if you don't hit the 3 pluses, then you're going to struggle on any given drive, probably.
Yeah, for sure, and that's what happened. So Padster goes in 1-0. But then Padster decided to set up not putting 3 stand firmers on the line. Put
Oh,
two stand
Padster.
firmers, two stand firmers and the ogre on the line.
Oh, okay.
Now I had no rerolls, but obviously you know me, Fear. I'm salivating at this, and I'm thinking to myself, right, well, it's been a while since I've done a movement 7 one turn, but let's give it a go. I get the first push, I get the second push.
Ooh.
Yeah. I need 4 of them. Get the first push, get the second push. But then I'm left with a 1 dice because obviously the whilst only 2 stand firmers are on the line, both of them have guard. And the way that
Right,
Padster's defended, I've only got a 1d for the final one, and with no reroll. Unfortunately, I roll a pow on the ogre. But I was there. You know, I could see the path to doing the 1 turn, so I was happy with that. So on a different day against a different team, if I hadn't been playing versus nobility, expecting them to put the 3 stand firmers on the line, I would have probably held back in a couple of those situations in the early game and saved a couple of rerolls.
Yeah.
And maybe just had that 1 turn kind of in the back pocket with 2 rerolls rather than, oh wow, I've got a chance here, 1 reroll. Yeah, sorry, no reroll. Sorry. So yeah, we did drop a foul on the ogre though. We just stunned it, but didn't get sent off. So we went into the second half, and I thought to myself, right, well, I think I'm probably just going to try and play for the draw here, because Padster looked pretty strong. I think I was down a player as well. I think it was 10 versus 11 maybe. And
Okay.
I thought to myself, well, I'm just gonna play for the draw here. And then the weather changed to pouring rain, and I thought
But
to
again,
myself, yeah, again. And I thought to myself, I'm going to push for the win now, because
okay.
pouring rain versus vampires was one thing. Pouring rain versus nobility, even with a sure hands 4+ pickup, is a very different game, I think. So I did push to try and score. Things went a little awry. We'll put it
No.
nicely. Things went a little awry. There was a micro positioning error from me that ultimately led to then me being punished when I failed a leap. The ball got sacked, and I did just the most disgusting play where I just decided that I was going to do the 2+, 5+, 2+, 2+, and score anyway, and didn't use
Yeah.
a reroll.
Lovely.
So I walked it in. I think Padster had 4 turns at this point.
Okay.
So I walked it in. Kick landed pretty favourably for me. Padster took some actions, screened the ball off a bit, and then failed the pickup. Game on.
Oh,
So because of pouring rain. So game on. Let's rush in. So I ran in. We had a bit of shenanigans. Padster seemed to have kind of tied it all up, looking secure.
yeah.
Then I managed to sack the ball, and
Oh.
in a crazy turn 16 play, we were left with a handoff action into a tackle zone, into a player in a tackle zone, which I made.
Tackle zone?
Pardon?
Was it a catcher in it? Was it
No,
a catcher?
no. It was a lineman. It was a lineman in a tackle zone. So and no reroll, by the way, no reroll. So we picked the ball up. We did the handoff with some GFIs. We did the handoff. We caught the ball, and that left us with a 3+ dodge. I think it was a 3+ dodge, possibly a 4+ pass, maybe a GFI into a 4+ pass, and then a 3+ catch because it was still pouring rain, but it was a catch at this time. Who was in the end zone, and we failed the dodge. So Padster then proceeded to surf my player in the end zone for skill points, and then went for the crazy 6+ pass that he still had left, with then some dodges out as well. Like there was a way of scoring, but it was a bit of a mess. So that one ended a 1-1 draw.
Not bad.
No, not bad. So 2 games, undefeated, second in the division at the moment, behind the Norse, who are also 1-1-0. And yeah, so that was that's where my Tackle Zone Star division, not my Tackle Zone, sorry, my Super League is at. So I will obviously update everyone next time we do the podcast. There'll probably be at least one more match, I would imagine, on there, if not two. So we'll be able to keep people updated with how the Slan journey continues.
Oh, sorry. It's one of those, isn't it? Where, as you say, like with the one turner, if you were playing against a different team on a different day and you were using Skaven, then maybe you get the touchdown there.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you had some win chances.
Had some win chances. Yeah, I faced. Yes, there was a good chance I lost the game, but I made a decision as well based upon the changing weather to pouring rain that I was going to push to try and win. So again, I'm as I say, there was some positioning errors in there for sure, and this is just stuff which I just need to shake off the cobwebs, get my eye back in with it. These things will come. But again, it was like I feel that I was making some good decisions, and I think more of this will when we start talking about the tabletop tournament I attended a bit later on in the episode. I will also touch a lot on that as well. It's about decision making, and I was feeling that I was making some good choices, I think. So that's positive.
I never think like Nobility are one of those teams where, unless they've got a star player or I don't know, something that helps. I never think they're a bad team to score early against anyway, because they're just not great on offense.
No, they do struggle, yeah.
I mean, yeah, and so it's a fair matchup in which to say, well, you know what, I'm going to slam this in and I'm going to go for the win, and I probably won't lose because it's very difficult for them to score quickly. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's an interesting discussion to have, certainly. So yeah.
Yeah.
So Slan are doing really well in Super League, and I'm enjoying them so much that when this Tackle Zone NAF team tournament turned up, and a few of the Team Wales guys said, "Hey, do you want to play in it?" I said, "Sure. Can I play Slan?" And they said, "Yeah." So not just content with one tournament with Slan, Fear. I'm also in the Tackle Zone team event, the NAF event that's running on FUMBBL at the moment, and I'm also playing Slan in that one.
Oh my gosh.
I'm a madman. I'm an absolute madman.
What's happened?
I don't know. I just it makes my head hurt, and I like making my head hurt. I'm a masochist for brain ache.
That was me thinking Necro looked really good in the rule set, and maybe he'd be playing Necro.
Yes, yeah, I did think about Necro, actually. I thought about a few teams, to be fair. But no, I just fancied something a little bit different. So there we go. But yeah, I've gone for a different build in this one. So we'll come on to your team in a minute. But so in my team, I've got No Number. I've got Jaywood, who's a very strong Welsh coach, really putting some good stuff in. So No Number's got Norse, Jaywood's got Humans, Spence is on Amazons, got Davo on Undead, me on Slan, and Spence on Amazons. So a pretty strong team there. And yeah, so who's on your team? I think it's fair that you speak for a little bit now, maybe, because I've done a lot of talking.
Well, I mean, I like listening to you talk. That's why we do this. But for the uninitiated, we probably should say what this is, right?
Oh, very good. Yeah, good point. Yeah, there I am barreling in, just the two of us having a conversation. Sorry.
Yeah. We'll break the third wall for a minute then, or whatever it's called in the films, and talk to the audience.
I think it's the fourth wall.
We'll break the fifth wall then. I mean, I don't know. We're
Sure. It's a dice. We'll break the sixth wall for the hell of it. There we go.
Yeah. So I mean, effectively, I think that it's been recognised by a few people that we don't have that many team tournaments in the UK, and whereas if you live in continental Europe, it's probably a little bit easier to travel to the German team bowl, the German team event, the French team event, the several team events that happen in Italy. I think there's one in Spain, or a couple of big ones in Spain. And what you get is you get a bit of a merry-go-round where people from teams like Azez and Corcapau from France, or Alfea from Italy, or some of the German, all over Europe, pretty much jump in a car, I guess, and just drive to across a couple of borders and go and play in the go and play in a really top level team tournament, and that probably puts them at a bit of an advantage when it comes to tournaments like the World Cup, and even potentially, I guess, things like Euro Bowl. And so I think a couple of people, I think Pete W's doing one in Stevenage, is like an England team tournament, and I think somebody else is doing one as a kind of home nations team tournament at some point.
Yep.
But K-Fogt has also had this idea of wanting to do a 6-person team tournament that was, I guess, pretty much like the World Cup, because that's a 6-player team tournament, isn't it? The World Cup. And he decided, I mean, obviously UKTC, we know about that. That's a fantastic tournament, and that attracts a lot of people, including a lot of foreign players to come and play. And he's kind of hoping to replicate that, I think, and get a second kind of big team tournament going on in the UK. And so he's picked Birmingham because central location, easy for everyone to get to, and the airport.
And the airport, yep, Birmingham International.
Yeah, so that'll be running, and it's part of the UK Gaming Expo. So
yep, that's correct.
We're sort of, I think, waiting for tickets to go on sale for that, and then people can buy that, and that's kind of how you buy a ticket for the tournament or something. It's all on Talk Fantasy Football. But also the idea was to run a version of the tournament, maybe to test the rules a little bit on FUMBBL. And so that's running at the moment as a NAF tournament on FUMBBL with 1 game a week. Core has written the rule set for it. It is there are no star players allowed, I don't think at all. It's a sort of 1-1-5-0 build. There's a fairly broad tier 1. All the teams you'd expect, including, I think it's basically the Games Workshop tiers, but it's got orcs in it. And within that, you can either have 6 primary skills, or you can have 4 primary skills and get, is it 20k extra gold to build with?
I think that's correct. Right? Yeah, that sounds about right. Yep.
Yeah, and then in tier 2, that's kind of all the Games Workshop tier 2 teams, except I think High Elves are in there.
And Slan.
So he's basically he's swapped, hasn't he? Orcs and High Elves from the Games Workshop tiers, and he's put Slan into tier 2. And that's, I think, 7 primary skills or 5.
Yeah, it's 7 or 5 and 1, because I've gone 5 and 1.
Yeah, 5 and 1, or you can do, was it 5 and an extra 20k?
Yeah, something. So yeah, exactly. There's these things.
Or something, yeah. In each tier, there's an option, I think, to drop a skill or 2 skills or something and get an extra bit of money. And then the tier 3 is the stunty.
Yeah.
The other sort of twist on it is that you have to pick who sits on which board at the start of the tournament.
Oh right, okay.
I don't know whether you knew you'd done that.
No. I left that to Spence, so that'll be why I got who I got in my first round.
Yeah. So you had to nominate board 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and that is fixed.
Oh, so, very exciting! I did not know that. Yeah. Did not know that. Now I'm desperately scrolling to see which board I'm on.
Well, you probably won't know because it didn't line up on the. Like it hasn't lined up on the. So yeah, you might want to ask him what board he put you on.
I'm gonna have to ask him. Yeah, gonna have to ask him.
Yeah. But I mean, the idea behind that is just, to be honest, it saves admin, the organisers.
Oh yeah, brilliant idea.
And we did have as we were talking about it as an idea, we did have a bit of a chuckle at the thought of some teams having a bit of a, debate on who's got to sit on what board or whatever.
Yeah, sure.
It's an interesting one anyway. But so yeah, you've gone with the Team Wales lot. I've gone with 3 guys that I usually play with for my Wrekin Raiders team. 2 guys. Sorry. So there's me. And then there's Speeding Bullet, and there is Dragonborn, with Golden Gate having overcommitted to Blood Bowl in various guises. And yeah, he's signed up to too many tournaments, and I think the chat with his better half went along the lines of no.
Yeah, fair enough. That is
um,
fair enough. That is fair enough.
yeah, that's fair enough. So we've also picked up a guy that I played with in the Team England European team in Malta, a chap called Spleggy.
Ah, lovely Spleggy.
Yeah, great player and lovely, lovely guy. We have picked up a guy
Wobbett.
who, yeah, Wobbett, yeah, from well, he was in Cheltenham, but he's in Nottingham now, is he, or
Yeah,
somewhere? And he
yeah.
runs quite a lot of
Lovely
leagues.
guy. Lovely guy. Runs tournaments like all the time. Amazing.
Yeah, and an ex NAFC finalist, I think, in a chap called Alspunio.
Ah,
Um,
raking them
yeah,
in, mate.
yeah, it's been good. Now, Speeding Bullet has gone for Norse,
Okay.
which was, I don't know. We were just batting the idea around, and we got talking about Norse, and I think he just fancied it, to be honest. So, tend to trust him to play whatever he wants. To be fair, Dragonboard's gone for Lizards, which obviously
Yep. It's fair enough.
quite enjoys a lizard.
Who doesn't,
Wob-
Fear? Who doesn't?
well, exactly. Wobbett's gone for Necro.
Yep. Another solid team.
Elspunio has gone for Orcs.
Yep. Good with his orcs.
Spleggy went for Underworld,
Ah.
despite the star player ban.
Yep. They're
Still
still
felt it was
super
viable.
strong. 6-skill Underworld is super strong.
Yeah. And I went for Chaos Dwarfs.
Yeah, lovely. Back on the chorfs. You love it.
Well, I haven't played a lot recently, and I've played something approaching. I think by the end of this tournament, I would have officially played 50 NAF games with Chaos Dwarfs
Lovely.
across the table and
Lovely.
FUMBBL format. So it's probably the easiest one for me to play in a a sort of competitive environment and not feel like I'm going to let the team down.
Yeah, fair enough. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
What have you guys gone with?
Well, I said it all, didn't I?
Did you? Oh,
I did it. No number's gone Norse. Davo's Undead. Spencer's Amazons. I'm Slan.
oh, yeah.
Rick is Underworld, and Jaywood is Humans. I think I said it. Anyway, there we go. There we
You
go.
had. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Shall I do my guys one, because I know what happens in your one, because I watched the final match earlier. So I'll run through my one, because my one's pretty straightforward actually.
Yeah, go on. Who did you run into? How did it go?
So we played. Let me pull up the list. Where is it? Oh, I had it a minute ago. There we are. Zawakajo, which I think is a mix of various people's names, including Volcajo, who's on the team. So we opened with Spence versus Baki. So Amazons versus Baki's Orcs. And Spence kicked us off with a 1-0 win. Wonderful. Captaining the team, Spence's, for this one, I think, and started us off nice and strong with a 1-0 win.
Nice.
Next game up on the kind of the scheduling was No Number versus Yagul. So No Number's Norse versus Yagul's Skaven. No Number managed to put himself into a winning position and then made a UI error because he doesn't really play FUMBBL that much, and didn't realise you couldn't deselect a blitz, and the Yeti failed something, and an Ulf Werner with guard got sent off on a Fisher's ref, and the game kind of slipped away into a 1-1. So could have been the 2-1 there potentially, but 1-1, no loss.
It's not a bad. I mean, Yagul's plays quite a bit on FUMBBL, or certainly
absolutely. Yeah.
And so, what was the matchup? Norse versus
Skaven.
Interesting one. I mean, it's probably quite drawish, I guess. So yeah,
and as you say, we were 1-0 up in the fixture anyway. We just need to draw everything else, and we're fine, right? Yeah. So yeah, draw is fine. Up next was Jaywood versus Volcajo, and that was Human versus Chaos Dwarf.
Ooh.
Again, a 1-1 draw. But again, Jaywood kicking himself because apparently he worked it out when he watched the replay back. He actually only, I think it was only a 4+3+ to score. And kind of got himself a bit confused about things. But so some good learning done there. But there was actually a very high chance that we win that one 2-1 as well.
I mean,
So, you know,
that's a really good. I mean, as you say, Jaywood's a good player, but
yeah,
Volcaggio, I
yeah,
think,
I know. Yeah,
probably
so
played more tournaments than any man alive.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
if I'm playing Chaos Dwarfs, I think I'm pretty happy with playing humans. I
Yeah,
think that's probably a matchup you'd put down for Chaos Dwarfs as
yep,
probably the favourites in. So Jaywood's done great there.
yeah,
Really well,
no.
really, really good
So,
result.
and again, no loss, so that's fine. Up next then was the mighty Andy Davo versus Endrafil, and that was Undead versus Vampire. Now, Davo had actually played this matchup earlier, like previously, the weekend before at the team tournament, which I'll be talking about in a bit, and had won that matchup. So I felt reasonably confident that Davo would get the draw in this one, and he lost. So,
Endro's probably underrated. He's a great player.
yeah,
Really
and
great.
it was Davo streamed the game. If anyone wanted to watch it back, there were some moments. Davo also not wanting to take anything away from Endrafil. Davo was also coughing his lungs out unwell, but played the game anyway because it's quite fast scheduling. This one, you got a week to turn it around.
Yeah.
So yeah, so not taking anything away from Endrafil, but yeah, it was definitely a really interesting game. But that put us back level because we'd now lost a game. So our advantage of Spence having won meant that we were then back on level pegging as it entered my game, and I was obviously Slan versus Amazing Gaze's Amazons. Now,
Ooh.
yeah, I felt pretty good about this one. My build in this one I'm a lot happier with. It's a block Croxagore, 2 dodge catchers, 2 wrestle linemen, and a strip ball lineman. I made some choices in the game. I left a hit on the ball, which I kind of almost outrun myself to do it. So I shouldn't have let that happen. But I've learnt from it, and I didn't get punished for it. But I've learnt from it. And I managed to score on my drive to go 1-0. And then Amazing Gaze started making their way down the pitch on their drive. I went in for the 1D sack, rolled a skull and a push. A few more things happened. I went in for the 1D sack again. I rolled a push. Oh, this is with a wrestler, by the way. My strip ball was out. I rolled a push and then a pow against the Amazons. Yay! Ball bounces out and gets caught by one of the strength 4 Amazons. Boo! So that was basically that. I did have a chance on turn 16. I still had a chance on turn 16. I had a 2+ dodge into a 2+ leap to cancel some assists, and then a 2+ activation with the Croxagore, 5+ dodge, 2+ GFI, 2+ GFI or rushes for 2 dice on the ball carrier, which I was
Yeah.
very happy to go and take. And I failed the blinking first leap, didn't I? I failed the 2+ leap, 1 into 1.
Oh wow.
So yeah. So I feel a bit like No Number and Jaywood had. I feel a game that, yes, I didn't play my very best, but I certainly had opportunities there to turn that one into a win. So draw with win chances, I will happily take.
Do you feel like it might always be like that with Slan? That it might always be a draw with win chances?
Probably.
Yeah.
We'll come back to me in 3 episodes' time, and I'll let you know. Okay. But that did leave us with the mighty Rick Reckless with Underworld, the best team in Blood Bowl right now, against Sprinters Dark Elves. A matchup that I would much, much rather be the Underworld in, I think. And
But again, taking nothing away from Rick,
oh yeah,
who
yeah,
obviously hugely popular, plays a lot of Blood Bowl and by
very
all
very
accounts,
good player, yeah.
Sprinter is with Dark Elves is like
World class.
Exceptional. Well, yeah, I mean, really, really good player. So, um, you'd probably, yeah, I'd be interested. Go on, did somebody run away with
Yeah.
this, or did it all
Uh,
balance out into?
so I don't know the ins and outs of what happened. Because I didn't watch the game. The game was played while I was at work, unfortunately, so I didn't watch the game. But I know the score. I'm going to pretend that it happened like this. Okay, it was 1-1, and Rick was going for the one turn. Okay, turn 16, last turn of the game. I don't know whether it was 16 or 8. Okay, but we'll say it's this. So it's 1-1. Everything's
Yeah.
on the line. Okay, and Rick Reckless's youngest child distracted him during the one turn, and we drew the game. So we draw the round. So I'd say we've had Spence got us the win, Davo lost, and I think we can probably safely say that in all four of the other draws, for all four of the draws, there were some win chances there. So that's where we're at.
Spence will be as captain here. Spence will be tearing his hair out, won't he?
Well, Spencer's got no hair left, mate. You know, he shaves his
Yeah.
head. He shaves his head. So yes, if Spence had any
We've
hair
got
to tear out, I'm sure he would have.
Yeah.
It would be all over the floor right now. Yes.
We've got a child distracted in one turner. We've got illness. We've got
We got UI. We got UI issue. We got Jay Wood just missing a play. And we've got me where a bobbling ball was caught by an Amazon. So some Blood Bowl stuff happened. You know.
and unable to roll a 2+.
And absolutely, and failure to roll a 2+. I know. To be honest with you, I think out of all of them, the worst one is the actual failure to roll a 2+. I think is the irrespective of what I have to do afterwards, the failure to roll a 2+ is probably the most unforgivable part of that.
But you know what? 6-player team tournament it's 5 rounds. I mean, start with a draw.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. And to be honest with you, all of us are doing it for fun, plus a bit of learning. And actually, if Jay Wood's got some good learning out of it, I've got some good learning out of it. Spence should be really happy with a win versus Backy on Orcs. That's a big win there. So we're to say nothing of how No Number and Rick have got on. Davo being ill, right? Well, Davo will just win the next 4 now, won't he? It's absolutely fine. Absolutely fine.
So some cracking games, some cracking matchups. I mean, Spence versus Backy. Say that's 2 pretty legendary players.
Absolutely.
And whilst with old Amazons, you definitely give them the edge on Orcs. I don't know how it really sits with new Amazons. So, well done, Spence, for taking that 1-0.
It's really good. Yeah, really good. So I know how you got on, but for the listeners at home, tell us how your team got on. Possibly in the similar format where you kind of go match by match, and keep us updated.
Okay, well, we ran into a team called Chimera.
Oh, hey.
Who are, I guess, a bit of a project team headed by a reasonably well-known player called Triple Skull. Danish Euro Bowl winning captain and all that jazz, and the guy whose Super League was his idea, in fairness. But yeah, this Chimera team that he's got, it's effectively like a bit of an invitational in the sense that he's just kind of, I want to say, cherry picking a little bit from amongst the very best players that he can convince to come and play for the team. So there are some big names in there, and in all honesty, we sort of looked at it and just went, "Oh well, never mind." Not to round We'll submarine, shall we? We'll submarine, shall we, lads? I opened up proceedings. I played the first game, and I was playing against Justicium's Undead.
Oh, what a round. What a first round.
Yeah,
wow.
Bearing in mind, I've literally played like 6 games of Blood Bowl since whenever UKTC was last year. Is that May?
Oh my god. Okay, yep.
Yeah. And you're playing like a guy that's won the Euro Bowl, won the World Cup. Yeah, it's just like, oh wow. Do you know what? It was interesting because I think I did all right. I mean, there were some. Looking back, there were some bits that were woeful. where there was real rust sort of being being shaken off.
What, one D blocks and stuff like that, or?
Just positional stuff. I mean, you're playing against guys this good. They just, I mean, I'll give you an example. I mean, so I drove to start with, and uh, reasonable fortune on turn two in that I KO'd a mummy.
Oh, lovely.
And I'm trying to just keep the ball in a sort of centralish, fairly safe space and keep a line of players across the pitch. And he just does what good players do, and he just starts isolating a couple of players, and knocking them down and parking 2 and 3 players next to them so that when you stand them up, unless I want to dodge a chorf, if it's standing up, it's getting punched, sort of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah.
And,
Yeah, and
and,
if
and
you're
that
and if
leads
you're on
to,
your backside with Jorfs, you're not going anywhere because
well,
you're only movement 4.
it just becomes you either end up just feeding more players into that to try and stabilize it, in which case you inevitably just end up losing the blocking war. So I know enough to kind of ignore that a bit and just push up the other side of the pitch where there's space. So I'm pushing up the right side. I get even more fortune on turn 3 when I one of my mighty blow chorfs KOs a ghoul.
Okay.
Um, and sometime later on, I KO another ghoul. So I play most of this half players up, right,
Oof.
which is worth remembering. My push up the right hand side, I probably mispositioned quite badly. He pushes in. He doesn't get to the ball, but he just pushes on the edge of a sort of the cage, and it just feels horrible. I managed to move the ball back central and back on my side of halfway, and I could kind of screen the front, but the back, all I can really do is park a guard chorf next to the ball carrier and pray. He's good. He finds some stuff. He gets his guard white round, so now he's got 1 dice on the ball. Fortunately, the ball stays up. I then get to, because he's pushed through so heavily, I'm able with a nice little chain push. All those years watching Andy Davo's stream of paying off. Spotted a box, and I do that about 3 times in this game, and a bit of a chain push. So I end up sort of half flipping him.
Oh
You
wow.
know,
Okay.
Yeah, and my balls have reconnected because one's running around the back of his defensive line and one's come up the channel, and it's all looking good. But of course, I've mispositioned horribly, and left him a fairly easy dodge a goal, run it around the back, and I think did he get 2? He might have even had 2 dice on the ball carry. It was awful. It
Wow.
really was
Okay.
awful. Balls on the floor. I managed to find another box and another little knock one guy over and use the body to push the other guy off the ball. And then I burned my last re-roll, failing to pick the ball up. Um, when we're on turn 7. If I pick it up, I've got a score there, but I can't pick it up. And at this point, what's starting to tell, I think, is that zombies and mummies don't dodge brilliantly, so they're sort of stuck on. There's a few of them stuck on some of my players. And that 3-player advantage that I've got really is concentrated all around the ball now.
Nice.
Which is either good play for me or just huge good fortune that, I rolled some good dice earlier on. He finds it. He throws a 2 dice uphill on one of my balls, where he finds Power Defender Stumbles, which is brilliant, which opens him up a chance to move my Hobgoblin off the ball with a blitz with a ghoul, and then I think he'll probably just try and pick it up,
Okay.
and then he's probably just going to pray really that I can't knock over a blodger. But he finds a skull,
Ooh.
and I am therefore with no re-rolls able to move my Hobgoblin 1 square to the side, roll a 3+, and then move it 5 squares forward, whereupon it is stood in the end zone.
Oh, beautiful. Well done.
So we've kind of scrapped our way to a touchdown. Beautiful moment. We set up, and I'm looking at it going, I know it's movement 7, but the 1 turn is possible, right? So I set
Definitely.
up
Yeah.
to defend the 1 turner, and then he sets up, and it's very obvious he's not going for the 1 turner.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. And I say to him in the chat, I say, no one turner, question mark. And I don't want to, paraphrase the, so I'll, I will paraphrase because I don't want to sort of, I can't remember exactly what he wrote, but it was along the lines of, I don't know how to do one turners
Okay.
because I never usually concede a touchdown.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. That's
And
brilliant. Oh,
I thought I thought that was absolutely
oh,
awesome.
oh, I'm
Yeah.
using that. I'm using that. Oh, I'm using
It
that. Oh, I'm using that. That's amazing.
was quality. So off he goes. His mummy's back. At least one of his ghouls is back. Two mummies on the roll. He's got three guard going on. Because he's got two guard on the mummy and one guard white. And it becomes fairly apparent fairly quickly that I'm really not up to this in the sense of like he's just pulling me left right. I've got bodies on the floor. Finding a two dice block is becoming difficult. It's just we're all over the place really,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he's much better than me, and I haven't played a lot, so we're in a lot of trouble really. But I'm fairly happy because if I get a draw out of this, and he doesn't
Well, I
seem
mean, a
to be in a
draw.
hurry.
Yeah, I mean, a draw versus Justicium on any day, regardless of whether you've been playing, your highest level, you'd still be really chuffed with that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I would, and he doesn't seem in a particular hurry. Um, and then all of a sudden he sort of is, and he on about turn. I guess it must be turn 5 for him. He kind of runs past the line of scrimmage, and he's got a ghoul with a board and somebody else, and a couple of other players in sort of close attention. And I sort of look at it and go, well, okay, the jig is up. But then I look at it again, and I realise I could get a bull centaur back pretty far and fairly central. I can get a hobgoblin back pretty far and fairly central. And then I realised that I've got a 3+ dodge with another hobgoblin, and with one GFI, I've got a one dice on the ball.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know if he's just. I felt like I was in so much trouble. So I don't know whether he's just pushed a bit harder than he needed to, or whether he just decided, well, I'm going to go score and then I'm going to go and turn this guy over. Yeah, I
Yeah,
suspect it's
sure,
that really.
sure.
And the ball's on a blodger, and I only find a push, and it's easy enough for him to just. I can't mark anything up really, so he's got a free white to just move my hobgoblin, and then he just runs it in, and it's 1-1. And I've got 3 turns to go back, or not get turned over. Really, I suppose it's probably there because at the moment we're on a 1-1 draw. And I do my usual. I chuck on every hobgoblin I've got, and I load up one side of the pitch, and his 2-turn setup was really good. Like I was looking at it, going, I'm not entirely sure even the best way to get round this, but I managed to get one hobgoblin past the line of scrimmage,
Okay.
which he chooses to mark, and I pick the ball up, and I'm a few squares from my own end zone. And he does a grand job. He comes in and he pushes a few players around, and he develops the players, the ghouls on one side of the pitch, so they're really bearing down on my ball carrier. And on my turn 7, I look at it and I realise that actually stalling this out is no longer really an option.
Okay.
The only option that I have is really to try and score,
Okay.
I think. And in order to score, I need to stand up a Chaos Dwarf. It needs to GFI twice. The reason it needs to GFI twice rather than once is because it needs to stand next to a line of his players, one of whom I need to block. But if it only goes for it once, then if I get a push, I'll be pushing his player into a square that it really doesn't. I don't need it to stand in. It's going to be a bad
Okay.
square.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah?
yeah, yeah.
So I have to go for it twice to get far enough across. As it is, I knocked the player over, so that's fine. That's then freed up a space, like basically up the sideline.
All right.
Whereupon my bull centaur can sort of gallop forward and push his ghoul that's marking my one hobgoblin that I've got over the line of scrimmage. And now comes the nonsense where I need to run the first hobgoblin forward and deliver a 3+ handoff.
Okay.
I then need to run that hobgoblin forward over my line of scrimmage and go for it once to throw a 4+ pass.
Yeah.
And then I need to run the final hobgoblin with 2 GFIs into the end zone.
Okay.
So what we're literally about to try and do is go coast to coast.
Love it. Love it.
With hobgoblins. Yeah?
Yeah.
I do, however, have, I think, 3 rerolls in the bank.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And I think it's at this moment that Justicium's team captain, Triple Skull, appears as a spectator.
Oh, no.
In the game. Whereupon I run forward and I hand the ball off on the 3+, and then I have my 1 GFI and I hit the 4+ pass. I roll a 5. Don't even need a reroll.
Oh.
Catch the ball and I hit both GFIs, and we are 2-1 up with a turn each to play.
Unbelievable.
At which point, I believe Triple Skull leaves.
Oh, you hate to laugh, but I know he listens to the podcast. So hello, Triple Skull. I hope you enjoyed that.
So yeah, I mean, look, we've got a turn each left. He doesn't get the extra turn. He doesn't get the timeout or anything. So I mean,
and he can't one turn because he doesn't normally get scored on. So.
Well, yeah, exactly. So, and I've to be honest, I set up the 1-turn defense and just,
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. No, you have to.
And it's so difficult with undead because if you set up the 1-turn defense properly, you could do it, but you need a big dodge in there somewhere. I think.
Yeah. You need a 5 or a 6 minimum somewhere in that sequence. Yep.
There we go. Great start for us. 2-1 against Justicium. I am going to say. If Justicium ever listens to this, I'm going to apologise profusely because really I got all of the damage dice. Because I knocked a mummy out again at some point when he was attacking. I got all of the damage dice, and when I needed it, I got all the skill dice as well. It was just bonkers, really, but felt largely outplayed.
Yeah,
for the entire game.
All I'll say is it sounds like it's all downhill from now, mate, for the rest of the tournament. So enjoy that moment. You've had a big victory there. I look forward to the next episode when we hear about your future, some more games, hopefully, and how those have gone. Because I would imagine that, as I say, it's probably all downhill from now.
Yeah, you'd assume so. But I mean, look, first game out the way, a bit of rust off.
Oh yeah, so shake it off, lovely. So
yeah,
how did so you started it with a win. So how did the other five games go? What's the breakdown on the other 5 games? What are the results?
Yeah, I mean, I think the following day there were 3 of them played at roughly the same time.
Okay.
So poor Dragonborn with his lizards played against Triple Skulls Dark Elves. They've played a few times across Super League and, or maybe not Super League, but Tackle Zone Star Divisions. And yeah, for whatever reason, by law of like Blood Bowl dice averages, Dragonborn probably should have maybe won one now. But Triple Skull just seems to have the voodoo sign over him, to be fair. So
Triple Skull has the voodoo sign over me as well. I can't seem to get through him.
So that was a 2-0 to Triple Skull.
Oof. Okay. Possibly Triple Skull was also fueled by you making that ridiculous play coast to coast with a hobgoblin. So maybe he was trying to really stamp his mark down on it.
Spleggy had a Underworld mirror.
Oh yuck!
Against Makurto. I mean, and that ended in a 1-1 draw.
Yep.
Pretty much kind of as expected.
Yep.
Spleggy played really well in that one. I'd argue probably had the slightly better chances to win it, but I mean it's a mirror match. I mean, what you do?
Yep.
And then Speeding Bullets Norse ran into Hearty and some vampires.
Oof.
Yeah, I mean, talk about Harty. Jesus, what a player is he? I think he was until Olivier Dulac went on his mad Skaven run to world number one. I think Harty was the highest ranked French player on the NAF ratings. I
Yeah.
mean, another legend of the game. And vampires, and just of all the teams that you think are probably going to struggle against vampires, you kind of wonder, you kind of feel Norse might have a hard time.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure. For sure.
Yeah. And you know what? I mean, I've watched the game back. In fairness, like Harty got a turnover and went one up on Speeding Bullet's drive, but he couldn't really stall it. So Speeding Bullet then had another go and managed to get a 1-1 at half time.
Amazing.
And this is amongst the backdrop. I mean, the Vamps are having one of those games where he's not failing. I don't think it didn't feel like he failed the gaze all game.
Wow.
And there is obviously a bit of bloodlust attrition going on, but it feels like one of those games that's pretty positive for the Vamps in
Yeah.
terms of the dice. And then he manages to Harty then runs one in fairly early with the Vamps to go 2-1 up, which I guess is normal. They probably want to be on defense, don't they?
Yeah.
Vampires,
Yeah. Yeah.
really.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then he turns Speeding Bullet over, and obviously for all money it's 3-1. Except at that exact moment, all of the dice just decide to come crashing back in the other direction as Harty tripwires
Oh
over the end zone. And
gosh.
the ball goes off the end,
Oh no way. Okay.
goes off the side, like goes diagonally forward like 12 squares, goes off the side,
Wow.
then goes back in the other direction like 11 squares,
Oh my lord.
lands on the vampire that's prone, goes off the pitch again,
Oh my gosh.
then comes back in diagonally the other way and lands right in the middle of all Speeding Bullets players.
Oh god. You can't write the script, can you?
Whereupon, not one to look a gift horse in the mouth, Speeding Bullet picks the ball up and proceeds up the field
Amazing.
to get a 2-2 draw.
Wow. That's Blood Bowl.
Uh,
That's Blood Bowl.
it's absolute blood bowl. And you know what? I can't. It feels hugely lucky, but it also almost just felt like luck equalising a little
Mm.
bit.
Mm.
So there you go. So at that point we're 1-2-1.
Okay.
And then a couple of days ago, El Spoonio's Orcs were up against. Well, he's known on FUMBBL as Socrates, but he's known on NAF as Tank.
Tank. Yep.
Yeah, you know about playing Tank.
Thank you for the dices. Thank you for the dices. That's all I can think of when I hear the name Tank in any situation. All I hear is thank you for the dices.
Thank you for the dices. Absolutely.
Yeah.
This one, how does this one go? Spoons proceeds. I think he receives. He proceeds up the pitch and scores
Okay.
for 1-0. He will want me to mention a Fisher's ref.
Okay.
Because I think it takes out the troll, which he felt was a crucial part of his one-turn defence.
Okay.
That's making the one-turner slightly easier, but Skaven don't need too much help with it anyway, do they?
No.
And the sidestep gutter runner gleefully gallivants down the pitch to make it 1-1 at the half.
Okay.
And then he just throws everything, really, apart from the kitchen sink and one blitzer, at Socrates. Bases everything at all times, just does everything he can, and eventually forces a scenario where the Skaven probably come forward a little bit unprotected, finds a couple of 3+ dodges, ball on the floor. Skaven are down to sort of 8 players, and people are getting stunned and so on and so forth. He recovers, but the strip baller comes in and gets it on the floor again. And then he's faced around turn 6, really looking at it going, well, am I going to try and draw this? Or should I try and win it?
Okay. Okay.
The issue with it is although he's on the floor, obviously the strip baller's moving 6, so anywhere an orc can go, he can go, sort of thing.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So it turns out the play to draw and the play to win are probably the same play.
What,
and
run
it's hand
towards
off
the Skaven end zone to get as far
and
away
hand
from
it
your own
off
end zone? Yeah.
and hand it off to a big un.
Oh, wow.
Because as everyone's been telling me for like a good couple of years now,
Absolutely, yep.
which I thought made no difference at all, and everyone's gone nuts. Big uns are now strength 5, and so movement
Movement
5,
5,
and
yep.
so therefore the best players in the whole game. Well, I may be sold because the handoff sticks with a reroll, and the big un goes gallivanting up the pitch, accompanied by another one, just to provide some, guard. And there's nothing Tank can do, and El Spurnier goes in for 2-1.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah. And then we get to this evening where I believe Wobbett's Necro were playing against Straumey's Wood Elves.
Yes, indeed.
Straumey, I guess, several tournaments has had, always gets good results against the Wrekin Raiders, including there's a podcast about UKTC at some point you can listen. Our listeners can go back and listen to.
Yep.
They want to hear me lament the luck Straumey gets against us. But you might be at a slight disadvantage because I haven't actually seen what the result was.
No way. You don't know the result?
I do not know the result.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Well, so the good news was
Yes.
Wobbett stopped the Wood Elves' drive.
Ah.
So it was 0-0 at half-time with Wobbett receiving.
Ooh.
The bad news is Wobbett failed to pick the ball up.
Oh.
And the Wood Elves banged it in for 1. And I think banged it in for 2.
Oh.
I think it was I think it ended with there was definitely a potato play run down the sideline sort of play that happened, unfortunately.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
So it's
yeah. The thing is, as we said before the match, actually, like for us to go and draw with Chimera in
yeah.
round 1 is phenomenal. So for us to go 2-2-2 and draw with Chimera, that's amazing, and that's as good as we could have expected with that matchup. In fact, we're expecting to be submarining a lot more. So I hope it doesn't sound like it might have been the most fun second half, but I just hope he enjoyed the game because that's that's our entire approach here, is that we just want everyone to enjoy their Blood Bowl.
Yeah, and
so,
I mean the exciting thing from our perspective is that we might have a podcast off.
Oh God!
Because you drew and we drew, right?
Yeah.
What board are you? What board are you?
I think I'm board 3.
Oh no, I'm not going to be board 3. Okay, we won't play each other. I won't. I'm not good enough to be board 3. Not with Spence, Rick, and Davo in there. Nah.
It depends. Like, Bleeding Bullet picked ours by rolling 3d6 for each player, adding them together, and then whoever got the lowest scores were like the lower boards.
Oh right. Oh. That's a way of doing it.
Well, we figured there was no, like, you could try and game it. Like, you could try and be like, oh, well, they're likely to put their best Skaven player on board 1, so we'll put our Chorf player on board. But you could drive yourself insane doing that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, yeah. Crazy, yeah.
So we just decided to just randomise it completely.
Ah, very good. Very good.
Yeah. So maybe, I mean, I can't imagine Spencer's done the same, but maybe.
No. It'll be equity values and statistical analysis galore, mate. No.
Yeah, but anyway, so yeah, I mean, we're obviously a bit more entertaining than you guys, though. You guys are just all draws, whereas we got some wins and losses.
Yeah, I know, up and down. But we ultimately end up with a team draw and a team draw. Perfectly balanced as everything should be. Fantastic. Yeah. Well, this is shaping up nicely. Well, they are 1 week rounds as well, so that's the other thing I don't think we mentioned. They are 1 week rounds, so probably by the next time we do a podcast, we may well have at least 2 more of these done. Because they have to be done quickly, Yeah,
I mean, assuming you want to do one after Water Bowl, so we can talk about how you did.
Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. After Water Bowl, yeah. So probably the weekend, maybe the weekend after Water Bowl, we'll get another one in. So yeah, so that'd be good.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Nice.
Well, yeah. Look, well, congrats on the draw and on the
Thank
team
you.
draw.
Yeah, same to you.
Yeah.
Same to you. Yeah.
Maybe we'll see round two. You know.
Yeah, could be great fun. Could be great fun. Right. Well, I've also been to an actual physical tournament, not just online. I've been to a physical tournament as well.
What one with real people?
With real people, mate. With real people, real human interaction. And it wasn't just an individual tournament, it was a team tournament. It was a double standards at High Wycombe, run by No Number, friend of the show, also my captain, Tom. And
So you had to go.
so, well, I didn't have to go. I signed up. I signed up in May last year, and because that was the early bird discount on it, and I decided that I was going to go with my good friend Falling Down Joe.
Oh.
So it's teams of two. You play next to each other for the whole time, and you're Swiss ranked within the team, and you're playing not only for an individual. Obviously, there's an individual trophy available, but there's also a team trophy available, and obviously it's all about the team. So that's what we were going for. We were going for the team side of things. So.
Excellent.
Yeah, so Joe and I, you may remember from the last podcast, Joe and I went to a pitch invasion at No Numbers Place, which used the same rule set, and I'd taken Underworld and Joe had taken Undead. I'd taken Underworld with Creek and Joe had taken Undead with Ivar, the dwarf hater.
Yes.
So Joe and I took exactly the same teams, again, Undead and Underworld, with the same star players. All we did was we tweaked our builds slightly. So Joe took an extra ghoul and dropped a reroll because that's where he felt he'd suffered most over the weekend. It wasn't the lack of rerolls; it was the lack of ghouls when Ivan or a ghoul died.
Yep.
And I changed my stack so that rather than doing a mighty blow tackle on the blitzer, I instead had 2-head sidestep on the gutter runner rather than block because I like one turning. So there we go.
2 heads and sidestep.
Yep, 2-head sidestep gutter runner.
Disgusting.
Just you wait. Just you wait. So, I'm going to rattle through these because it was 6 rounds. So there is quite a lot to cover. Quite a lot of ground to cover. So, Joe and I opened by playing BG McLean and Swamp Monkey in round 1. So, Joe was drawn up against BG McLean. Now, let me see. Can I see the matchup? Yes, it was Undead versus Dark Elf. I thought it was. And I was versus Swampy's Lizards. So, Underworld versus Lizards. Now, as you know, I love my lizards. So, I was very excited to get to play versus them. Especially when it transpired that they had 1 reroll, then a leader, and Dribble and Drool. The 2 skinks.
Ooh.
Dribble and Drool are the stabby and stompy. So one of them stabs you, the other one steps on you. Ask me what their stat lines were after that game, and I couldn't tell you because both of them left the pitch so quickly that neither one of them either stabbed nor stepped on anyone. Okay? The game... I'll set the tone for the game, okay? My turn 1, I KO'd a Saurus that had remained in base contact with one of my random rats. I think it was the Blitzer or the Lime Rat. Just KO'd a Saurus. Brilliant. And I surfed another Saurus with a Snotling dodge in, and then the Rat Ogre surfed a Saurus.
Wow.
So I then of course got counter-surfed. Okay, I got counter-surfed, but I would happily take the Rat Ogre for 2 Saurus.
Yeah.
You know, I'm perfectly fine with that. Hilariously, I benched my gutter runner because I thought that I'd been thinking quite hard about in various matchups about whether I was going to bench the gutter runner, and I decided to bench the gutter runner so I could get more snotlings on the pitch, so that I could have more numbers on defence and trust myself to either hold out on the defence and then just guarantee the gutter runner for the second half, or guarantee the gutter runner for the 1 turn, which I've then built to 1 turn with.
Wow.
So when I surfed the ball carrier on turn 3 or 4, I want to say. No later than turn 4. and the ball scattered to the perfect square. It was jolly lucky that my thrower was where they were. That meant that I could pick the ball up and run off down the field, because I didn't have the gutter runner on the pitch. Absolute credit to Swamp. He forced me in to give him 2 turns back. He absolutely dug deep, and I went from this is fine, I'll walk it in on turn 8, to I'm going to have to walk this in on turn 6. At which point I did field the gutter runner, because I thought, well, if there's a failed pickup or something. So Swamp Monkey gives himself 2 turns, and I set up thinking, right, I've got to be reasonably responsive for this. And Swamp sets up and stuff, and sets up, and I'm half watching Joe's game. I'm not really watching him set up. I'm like half watching Joe's game, and I roll the dice for the kickoff, blah, blah, blah. And Swamp Monkey then starts a 1 turn with 2 turns to go. And I look at this and think, okay, that's quite clever, actually. You've decided that you want to see if you can get yourself into a position. You're going to do some chain pushes, get yourself into a position. The ball's reasonably safe where it is, and then you can go for kind of like a 1 turn, but push past me with it maybe. And if it fails at any point, you've still got the 2 turn security. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. About halfway through the 1 turn, Swamp Monkey looked up at me and went, "I've got 2 turns." And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Why am I doing a 1 turn?" I said, "I don't know." So that plan backfired. So he ran a few players through and kind of sorted himself out. But unfortunately, Underworld being Underworld, I kind of jammed in to stop the score, and then I put players in the way, and then sacked the ball, and ran the gutter runner forward and picked the ball up, with 2 heads and being very much in use, and poised myself to score, and poised myself ready on turn 8 to score the second touchdown. Swampy dug in deep, caused me no end of headaches, absolutely no end of headaches, and sacked the ball. But luckily, where the gutter runner was, I was still in range with the gutter runner, because gutter runners are absolutely disgusting. And it left me with a pickup, a dodge, dodge into tackle zone, pick the ball up in tackle zone, dodge out of tackle zone, 2 GFIs to score. I think I used the re-roll on the pickup, and then I rolled a 1 on the tripwire to be 2-0 up on his drive. So 1-0 to me though, absolutely fine. Joe's in control over on his board. The Dark Elves are struggling versus the Undead. Undead are 1-0 up, and as well, and the Dark Elves are looking in control. So the second half starts, and it's at this point here. So bear in mind, all the FUMBBL games I've just talked about, we've kind of done them out of sequence. I hadn't actually played Blood Bowl really since the last tournament I went to in that December one with or November with the previous tournament. And I was feeling a little bit rusty, and I absolutely make a huge error, and I overcommit, because also I'm not tilted, but I was a little bit disappointed to not be 2-0 up on the Lizard drive and just have the game done, Yeah. So I was like, right, well, I've got the measure of the guy, much absolute credit to Swamp Monkey. Like I played against him for a bit, and I was like, right, Dribble and Drool are gone. There was still a Saurus out. I was like, right, this is my game now. Let's get this done. Let's score quickly, and let's try and turn him over and go 3-0 basically. But I kind of overcommitted, and then the Lizards had a beautiful turn where everything worked. I lost a couple of players, and then basically everything he blitzed, I lost. And I start backpedaling, and there's double GFIs from Croxigors to base the gutter runner, and the gutter runner fails because of prehensile tail, and and it's a scramble. It's an absolute mad scramble, and I end up drawing that game, and it's all my own fault. It's all my own fault. I absolutely, hand on heart, all my own fault. I got super punished. I pushed too quickly. Yes, on one side I could have been 2-0 up. But actually, I should have taken it and tried to score in 3 or 4 turns, not try and 2-turn him. My own fault, absolute idiot. But as I say, it didn't matter, because I got the draw locked in and Joe won his game. So we got a team win there. So that was good. I should have also mentioned that we were randomly drawn onto table 1. So
Oh.
we were right up at the top end. So that was round one. Round two, we dropped down to table two. Not many people won their games, but we dropped down to table two, and we were playing versus a team that most people had called themselves just their two coach names. That was their team name. So I was Dr. Hellboy and Falling Down Joe, but this team name was called Dwarf. Okay, and they were playing dwarves and Amazons. So yes, I thought it was going to be dwarves and chorfs, and I bet you did as well.
I really did, yeah.
Yeah.
Can I check? Is Hef on this team?
No. Unfortunately, I'm looking on Tourplay right now. Unfortunately, I've only got their real names, so I can't tell you what their coach names are.
Okay.
Because they had that. Anyway, the undead had the Amazons, and the Amazon team, I believe, if I just click on it, yes, the Amazon team had dribble and drool. So there we go. There was I tell you what, there were a lot of dribble and drool around at this tournament.
Yeah.
But luckily, Joe having a tackle mighty blow white, and as I say, Ivan the dwarf killer guy has tackle and strength 4. Joe felt pretty confident about that one and was able to lock in a 2-0 win against the Amazons in that round. My Underworld, however, had to face the actual dwarf team. Which is not, on paper, necessarily the nicest matchup when you look at the tackle. You know, there's tackle everywhere. Underworld rely on a lot of dodges, snotling dodges, that sort of thing.
Yep.
However, one thing that Underworld really have an advantage over dwarves is speed. So I set up to kind of half engage with the dwarves and half run away, a bit of that withdrawn offense, that Daka kind of thing. And I was kind of going to go a little bit toe to toe, just a little bit, but then drop back if I wanted to. And that plan backfired when he rolled perfect defense.
Beautiful.
So all of a sudden, I was not going toe to toe. I was being stomped on, and I rapidly ran backwards. I ran away in sheer panic. But fortunately, rather than kind of holding the middle of the pitch, my opponent decided to chase after me. And when I decided to break through with the Underworld, yes, it was a 1D that I needed on the Blitz, but all I needed was a 2+ because I went with a Wrestler. At that point there, in 2 turns' time, my Gutter Runner was at the other end of the pitch and no one could touch it for the turn 8 score.
Gosh, they are fast.
They are super fast, and it was just, it was a bit of a shame. I did chat to my opponent afterwards, if he's listening. It was lovely to play you. He did say he'd been playing for about 5 years, but it was kind of like his third game, really. Like, he plays a lot of game systems, so doesn't play much Blood Bowl, and just wasn't really expecting what I brought to the table with that. And then I can't remember whether it was a failed pickup or whether I was just able to, like, something went wrong and I split the team in half, sacked the ball, and there was the 2-0. Like, there was not, once I'd seen Joe was in control as well, I was also very happy to sit there and draw all weekend. Like, we'd already discussed it. We were happy just to take team draws. If one of us was locked on for the win, and Joe had basically locked in the win pretty early on. So it was nice for me to get that, but yeah, I would have taken a draw. But yeah, so a 2-0 win. So that put us on 2 wins as a team. Joe on 2 wins, and me on 1 win, 1 draw.
Oh.
So that was good. So from the depths of table 2, we found ourselves back on table 1.
Woohoo!
So we're really. I mean, I didn't really know what was going on at the other end of the venue. I didn't even know what the other end of the venue looked like because I was just we were just sat up there at table 1. And this round we were playing versus Nutty Champ and Dwight. So Dwight was playing versus Joe, and it was an undead off. And I was playing versus my second dwarf team.
Oh, this is not a good matchup, is it?
Well, I mean, on one hand, I'm fresh off the heels of a win. You know,
Yeah.
I'm feeling good off a win, but on the second hand, I'm also not necessarily looking forward to this one. Also, this one's got a death roller.
Ooh.
So yeah. So in the undead off,
Yeah.
Joe and his opponent had a chat at the beginning of the game, and I mean, Joe leant over to me and said, "I think my undead build is better than his," and I said, "Okay, that's fair enough." I think there was a bit of stacking had gone on with the undead, like you could stack quite a few things. So I can actually open the team here. Yeah, he has 2 tackle mighty blow and no star player. So he had 2 tackle mighty blow whites, but hadn't taken any skills on the mummies. Whereas Joe had 2 block mummies and a star player as well.
Wow, yeah.
So Joe was feeling quite confident, and at the end of the game, Joe won 1-0, and at the end of the game, they did have a good chat about it, and his opponent said, actually, your build was really nice, and that's kind of what had the edge, he thought, in the game, was just that extra bit of the extra oomph that you can get from just having 2 block mummies. So hopefully there was some learning there. You know, it's I think if you're offered 2 block mummies, you take 2 block mummies is probably the answer there. So I'm playing versus dwarves. I'm playing versus Nutty Champ, who's got a death roller. And he sets up on to kick to me, so I'm receiving,
Right.
and he puts his death roller on the bench. So I look at him and go, well, if you're putting your big thing on the bench, I'm putting my big thing on the bench. So I put Creek on the bench.
Oh.
And Joe looked at me like I was crazy. Like, Joe looked over at me like I was absolutely bananas for doing that. And I looked at Joe and I said, don't worry, I've got a plan. And I set up and immediately did the withdrawn offense. No engagement, run away. No engagement, run away. And Joe looked, and when he saw what I was doing, he went, okay, that makes sense to not have Creek on the board then. Right, that's fair enough. And basically it was because I didn't want to have Creek go for, like, have to move backwards multiple times just to then send him forwards again multiple times.
Well, no. Also, he's your get out of jail card against the death roller.
Yeah, absolutely. So he's a big strength piece versus another big strength piece. So I dackered and I ran away. The dwarves again gave chase, and yet again, same thing happened again. 1D blitz, bunch of GFIs. Before you know it, I'm up the other end of the pitch.
Yeah.
However, it's not quite as clear cut as in the other game, because things start going wrong a little bit, and I end up actually requiring quite a few dodges to even get out and score. Because I get pinned in, because things start going wrong. I start failing 3+s, I start failing snotling dodges, you know, things start going wrong. But that's why you take 2 heads on a gutter runner. Because rather than being 3s and 2s, it's just 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. There we go. Thank you very much. Yeah. Job done. And I managed to get the 1-0. Unfortunately, I didn't chip a dwarf, so the death roller was able to stay off and then come on for the start of the second half. I brought Creek on, and then I started being battered.
Oh dear.
I absolutely got battered. In a moment, I'm going to tell you some stats. Okay, not yet. We'll wait for a little bit later in the report from the weekend, and then I'll give you some stats. Okay. So, So I start being battered, and I lean over to Joe and I say, Joe, how's your game going? And he's like, yeah, I think I've got it. And I go, okay, I think I have to just lie down and wait for the 1 turn, because there's no way I'm going to do this. So I kind of start disengaging, and I'm just losing players. Basically, I'm just protect the gutter runner at all costs, and just try not to lose too many players. And then my opponent decides to score on turn 5. And so rather than having to kind of just negotiate a 1 turn to possibly win, I'm suddenly given a bunch of turns.
Is he? Is he aware at this moment that he needs to win because
I
Joe's going
think,
to win?
yeah, I think there's a little bit of that going on. But also he had played he'd played who was it in the previous round? I'd watched him play someone else in the previous round, and he'd done something similar. Like he wasn't
Okay.
afraid to do these kind of things.
Yeah.
So that's fine. It's absolutely fine. Uh, and yeah, and then things actually start going wrong because I think I roll a double skulls and the ball's on the floor, or I fail to pick up something goes wrong, like something really goes wrong, and all of a sudden I'm staring down the barrel of a loss because the ball's close enough that the dwarves can bother me. I'm no longer running away, and I'm down players.
Yeah.
But luckily I've got Underworld, get out of jail free card. I run away with 5 players left on the pitch. I win the game
Wow.
2-1. And I've got a 15-player roster. Okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I managed to win that. I managed to win that game 2-1, which gives us two individual victories, which gives us another team win, which puts us at the end of day 1 on 3-0-0 as a team, and Joe's on 3-0-0, the only person on 3-0-0, I should add, and I am on 2-1-0. So we go off to have a curry. In very good spirits.
I mean, how are you feeling at that point? Because obviously, he's carrying you a little bit there with that 3-0-0.
Well, not only that, I'm the only one who's conceded touchdowns.
I mean, mate.
It's pretty embarrassing, to be honest with you. I'm walking around telling everyone it's all about the team just to try and make myself feel better.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, I'm getting team draws, mate, because it matters for the team. Not that I made a massive blunder. You know, I'm letting in touchdowns. I'm letting in touchdowns so that I can keep us going. You know, to kind of eke this out because that's what's needed. You know, no,
Yeah, cool.
No, I think in all seriousness, Joe and I talked on the way home because we live close enough that we can drive there and back in a day, which is nice. So it saves a bit on the hotel cost. Yeah, we had a chat, and basically, you don't win the tournament on day 1, but you can lose it on day 1. So we felt pretty good. We felt pretty good going into day 2.
Yeah.
So day 2, round 4, we come up against the only other team that is also on 3-0-0.
Well, of course.
Captain Oates and Tyler Swaft, who are also playing in the FUMBBL tournament that's running at the moment. So might get to play them again at some point.
Let's do this again. Captain Oates.
Yeah.
And what?
Tyler Swaft. Tyler Swaft.
Are these newish Blood Bowl players? I've never come across either name before.
I don't think they're massively new. They certainly don't play like they're new.
Okay.
So Captain Oates is playing Joe, and it's another undead off. But this time we get to see who's the winner between Cheney and Ivar. Or Ivan, sorry. Ivan. Ivar's the Norse guy. So the game starts horrifically for Joe. Like, properly horrifically. Like, he is being battered. And Joe somehow manages to score on turn 7 and is, like, thankful for it. Okay?
Wow.
The opposing undead, Cheney, then 2 turns. Goes straight through a screen. Like, double screened, just goes straight through it. Just barrels through it. Doesn't care. Cheney's there. Just barrels through. 1-1. And Joe is literally leaning over to me going, I don't know how I win this game.
Yeah.
And at that point, on my side with the Amazons, who had a dribble and drool, I'd managed to remove drool. I think, drool's the fouling one, I think. Anyway, I'd managed to remove the fouling one because he fouled once, then I knocked him over and fouled him off the pitch. Into the KO box, and he never came back for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
So far, the stepping on one, I've faced them twice. 1 foul, that's it. So that was that. The stabbing one comes in a bit later on. But at this point, I'd gone in with a game plan versus the Amazons. So Joe's 1-1. I'd gone in with a game plan which was kick to the Amazons and bench the gutter runner and just go to murder his team. He had no Apo.
Yeah.
All I wanted to do was kill the 2 skinks. Like, if he gave me a shot on the 2 skinks, kill the 2 skinks and literally step on anything. Don't care whether it's skilled or not. Step on anything that's an Amazon and just start removing players. If I start the second half and it's 11 versus 8, I am going to win that game. Okay?
No. Good idea.
And the plan goes pretty good, to be fair.
Okay.
We get to turn 6 on his drive. 2 Amazons are dead. The skink's in the KO box, and one of his Amazon runners, the faster ones, is getting stepped on every single turn. I don't care that the ball's in a cage and sat on my end zone line. All I'm going to do is keep on stepping on that player with a snotling every single turn. And and he looks at me and he goes, "I'm going to score," and just walks the ball in. And he said, "I'm going to score because you've built your team to do a 1 turn, and I don't want to give you the 1 turn. And also, you're just going to step on my player every turn." And I looked at him and I said, "Well, fair enough, mate, but you've made a gross error there. I don't know how to 1 turn." Bit of the justicium, mentality. Anyway, he gave me 3 turns, and he still had the stab skink. Now, obviously, a stab skink is terrifying versus a gutter runner because you're just, at worst, you're just 2-3 pluses away from a straight armor roll, and that could be a dead gutter runner, and the team's suddenly in trouble. So I kind of pushed forward, and on turn 7, I had a really good double screen where basically what I'd managed to do was I'd managed to force the direction of the blitz, which meant that the ball wouldn't scatter off field. If he wanted to blitz me, he had to go from the edge of the pitch inwards rather than the inside of the pitch outwards. Okay, so whatever he chose, the ball wasn't going to scatter out. Okay. So he eyed it up, and in the end, because snotlings don't really add very much to the game with the tackle zones not counting because of Titchy, he, rather than going with the skink, which was what I was more scared of, he went for the 4+ in with one of the Amazons, made it on the reroll, and managed to roll the POW on the gutter runner. The gutter runner survived, but the ball scattered into a horrific square. And I also should add, this is pouring rain, by the way. And I also want to add that I think every single game that the Amazons played that weekend was pouring rain in at least one half. Okay.
Wow.
Anyway, I try loads of different pushes. The skinks have got sidestep, so the stab skink's knocking around, so I can't knock that one over. And in the end, the ball bobbles out, and I'm left with, I think it's a 3+ dodge, 2+ dodge, 4+ pickup, 2+ dodge, 2+ dodge, GFI into the end zone, and I've got 2 rerolls, and obviously dodge skill. And I get all the way to picking up the ball, and I roll a 1, and then I roll a 3. So I don't get to pick the ball up, and I don't go 1-1. So it's at this point that Joe looks over to me and goes, "I don't think I can win this game."
Oh dear.
So now I'm looking at, do I push to win my matchup if Joe's going to lose, or can Joe somehow salvage a draw and I just hold on for a draw here? Because whilst I've removed players, I haven't actually removed that many Amazons. There's still 9 of them setting up. Okay?
Right, okay.
So, second half starts, and I kill an Amazon off the line. Brilliant.
Yep.
And I pick the ball up, and I cage the ball, and the next turn the Amazons cage dive and sack the ball.
Ooh.
So, I pick the ball up again, I chip another Amazon, and I cage the ball, and the next turn, the Amazons cage dive me again, and sack the ball. And I'm like, okay, I see how this is going to go. And all the while, I'm trying to kind of keep the game slower so I can see what's going on with Joe's match, because I need to know, like, what am I trying to do here? Because even with the best will in the world, whilst the 2 skinks are alive, those Amazons can actually realistically score back and win the game. Okay. Joe, out of some, like, Joe has dug so deep. It doesn't help that the opponent fails 6 pickups, I think it is, with sure hands. Like, fails 3 pickups in a row. So 6 attempts to pick up the ball has failed. And the ball is getting closer and closer to the sideline. And Joe's managed to put pressure on. Joe's digging deep. And it hits the point where Joe's going to me, I might be able to draw this game. Okay?
Okay.
So I lock in, and I'm pushing, and I'm just waiting for that skink to go in, basically, because he's sacking with anything but the skink. And I'm fouling things, and I'm getting ready, you know, I'm doing everything I can to reduce numbers. I'm also being a little bit cheeky, because I'm doing things like asking my opponent if he actually wants me to roll the block dice, and he goes yes, and so I roll a POW, and I said, do you actually want me to roll the armour dice? And he goes yes, so I roll a 10. And I say, do you actually want me to roll the injury dice, or should we just pick the player up? And I pick the player up, put it in the CAS box, and roll a 10. So, you know, I'm being a bit cheeky. I'm in my element. You know, I'm in my.
You are enjoying yourself.
I'm loving life. I'm loving life. And Joe has managed to lock in the draw. And I have a choice to make around: do I score and go for the win, or do I just hold us for a team draw? Pretty much as close to guaranteed as possible at this point, because he's only got 1 play left, which is blitz with the skink, stab the gutter runner. If he makes it, brilliant. If he doesn't, that skink is dead, because I'm going to get like 4 or 5 3 dice blocks on it with everyone on the team, you know, with reroll. Yeah. And Joe says, it's up to you, mate. He looks at me and says, it's up to you. The skink blitzes, goes for 1 stab, doesn't roll enough to break the gutter runner armour, and is sent off the pitch the next turn. Or is stunned or something, like, is completely other thing. And I say to Joe, mate, I'm just going to hold on for the draw. And I get the draw. And I've also been quite clever in the fact that I've been holding back snotlings, so that when it comes to the 1 turn for the Amazons, there are 3 snotlings on the line, and I think it was 6 players. So even with the skink available, they couldn't 1 turn against 3 sidesteppers. So I set up to defend a 2 turn, and they didn't roll the 2 turn. So it was a 1-1 draw for me and a 1-1 draw for Joe, and a team draw.
And hard fought. I mean, there's always a round in a tournament where
absolutely massively hard fought
in the team where you're going to have to dig deep to.
Yeah. Huge. And you know what I said earlier about those moments? Well, that was a really good moment for me, was actually that digging in and just keeping the draw. And, you know, if it was an individual tournament, right, I would have had absolutely no qualms in scoring on turn 4 and then trying to turn him over. Okay? That's what I would have done. I would have played it completely differently. But yeah, for a team tournament, that was that. So we were 3-1-0 as a team. Joe's now on 3-1-0 and I'm on 2-2-0, so undefeated.
Yeah.
We go into round 5. We're back on table 1 again. And we're playing versus Sparky Dave and Talon Bay. So, Talon Bay is bringing Underworld versus Joe's Undead. So that's pretty scary. And I've got my 3rd dwarf matchup of the weekend as I'm playing Sparky's Dwarves.
Wow.
Here we go again. So, we'll cover Joe's game first. So, Joe versus Talon Bay. Joe ground down the pitch, 1-0. There was a little bit of hairy stuff going on, but it was kind of job done, turn 8, job done. Talon Bay went for the 1 turn. The gutter runner failed the dodge through 2 tackle zones and died by falling over.
Oh. And
I know that Talon Bay won't mind me saying, because we all saw it happen, Talon Bay was pretty shaken by that. The game was almost lost at that moment. Gutter runner, it seemed that the gutter runner was completely key to the way that Talon Bay was going to play, and that's absolutely correct. The gutter runner is a linchpin in the team, but there was definitely a psychological impact that happened there as well, in terms of like, oh god, I don't think I can do this now.
Right, okay.
So yeah, and which is absolutely understandable. I mean, this is game 5, right? You're tired. You've got your superstar player. You've made all the pushes for the 1 turn, and then you just fail a 3+ or a 4+. I don't know if they had 2 heads, but it's either a 3+ or a 4+ you failed, and the player dies. Great.
Yeah.
It's a massive. It is a massive loss. I don't know.
I remember a game probably a couple of years ago where I was playing with Necro, and I tripwired into the end zone off a 1 turn and with a werewolf.
Oh yeah.
And it died.
Yep.
And it is just a little bit. I mean, there's a huge amount of disappointment because I mean you've done a certain amount right to get there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And you've got this ability, and you've done all the hard bits. Now you just need to roll the right numbers, right? So
and you kind of accept that the player might fall over.
Yeah.
But obviously, it just feels awful having a player die on you.
Yep.
Throwing the 1 turn. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and I don't quite know how the rest of the game pans out, but Joe locks in a 2-1 win, and I think basically at that point Joe was in the driving seat. So whether Talon Bay scores early or whether Joe goes 2-0 and then he scores one consolation touchdown back, I can't remember. But yeah, 2-1 win to Joe there. But my game versus Sparky was really, really interesting. So the dwarves received, and I kind of passive defended a bit, and was losing a few players and just went, right, well, I'll wait for the 1 turn. And then Sparky left a corner of the cage based with a goblin. And
Oops.
with a few 3+, that became open, and I did roll a POW, and then that gave me a 2D on the ball, which popped the ball, which then my gutter runner ran in and picked up and ran off again, and I was exactly 9 squares away from the end zone, but then the gutter runner got punched, knocked over, the ball got picked up, handed off. Passed, I think there was a pass involved as well, maybe, and the dwarves still managed to score on turn 8. It was manic. It was manic, and Sparky looked at me and went, "I made a big mistake there," because he'd left it based. He'd kind of been a bit complacent, kind of switched off a bit. Game 5, you're trundling along, you're winning the game, all of a sudden, boom, it's gone. He had a death roller as well. Death roller got sent off on a foul against my blitzer for a stun. So I was quite happy with that.
I'll take that one.
Yeah, very, very happy with that. And Sparky set up to... So Sparky went 1-0 up and set up to defend the 1 turn. But obviously, because I'd been expecting to kind of just hold back and go for a 1 turn, I think I had 2 rerolls. And Sparky chose to back line against it. But the way he'd positioned his dwarves meant I got 3 dice into 3 dice into 3 dice. So I actually reduced a GFI on the pushes. I got an extra push on the gutter runner, and then with 2 heads, even through tackle, doesn't matter because I just dodged. I had to dodge through tackle once, but then I went through the Troll Slayers tackle zones with no tackle to get the final bit, and I 1-turned him. So 1-1. So my first 1 turn of the weekend came in game 5.
But timing.
Yeah, really, really good, really good. It felt good to get it done. And then I dackered again, withdrawn offense again, and I ran away. But this time, Sparky knew what to do, held the middle of the field, and made it very, very difficult for me. And we did have a chat during the game, and it was because he'd watched Andy Davo, one of Andy Davo's videos where Davo had played versus it, and so he knew what to do. So he just stood in the middle of the field. However, there was
at that moment, you're cursing Davo at that moment.
Yeah, I'm cursing Davo, and I'm getting frustrated. I'm eyeing this up, going, oh god. And I also think I waited a turn too long, and all this kind of stuff. Anyway, I'm doubting myself. I'm doubting my abilities. I'm questioning this, that, and the other. But Sparky does leave me a 3+ dodge route through. And it was just one little bit of mispositioning. And I think it was, as I rushed in a bit, I think he based up a bit too much and just left me an angle. And I, of course, took that. Yes, I got incredibly lucky. I did some absolute bullshit in that one. Pardon the French. I left him needing a Troll Slayer. I left him needing.
Dr. Holbert, that's not French, mate.
Oh, pardon. So I left him needing because a goblin made 4 dodges. Okay, because otherwise his Troll Slayer had a 2+2+ for 2D on the gutter runner right by the sideline. But I've got sidestep, so that's fine. I won't get surfed. But the goblin made 4 dodges, needing 1 reroll through tackle. I should add as well. Yeah, absolutely, just so rowdy. But it left the Troll Slayer needing a 5/4/2/2. But he did have 2 rerolls. Didn't make the 5+. Reroll makes the 5+. Didn't make the 4+. Reroll fails. Heart in my mouth moment, and I bang it into score. 2-1 win. The dwarves don't roll the riot or the timeout. So it's a 2-1 win for me, 2-1 win for Joe, and that sets us up on 4 wins, 1 draw, 0 losses as a team. Joe is on 4 wins, 1 draw, 0 losses, individual record, and I'm on 3-2-0. So no defeats for either of us for the whole weekend at this point in time, going into the final round. So, round 6. Now, I haven't mentioned some of the other people that were at this tournament yet, okay? There were some big names knocking around, okay? We've got people like Torquemada was there. Bart K was there. You've got No Number, you've got The Shepherd, you've got Greenskin Phil. You know these names. Yeah, you know these names. Also, lurking, you've got Gav Coleman and Jaywood. And Andy Davo and Raging 82. Now, what's happened is all these other teams have dropped around. So they've been battling their way up. They've been submarining. While Joe and I have been happily sat there on table 1, oblivious of what's been going on further down the room. There's been some serious submarining going on. And round 6 is Falling Down Joe, mirror match, Undead versus Undead versus Andy Davo, and Dr. Hellboy, mirror match, Underworld versus Underworld, Raging 82.
Oh, yuck.
For the title. Okay? So, Davo versus Joe. Let's start with that game. In a mirror match, Fear, in a mirror match, it's very, very important. Not only in a mirror match, in a mirror match to the same build. Okay? The same star player, the same mummies, etc., etc. It is very, very important to outbash your opponent. Okay?
If you're a bashish team.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. But in a mirror match, it's very good to lead on the attrition. Okay. Let me tell you how many removals, injuries, okay, Joe got against Andy Davo's team. 0. Let me tell you how many KOs Joe got versus Andy Davo's team. 0. Joe found himself down both mummies twice at one point in the game. 2 points in the game. It was brutal. It was absolutely brutal. Joe managed to score again, turn 7, left Davo a 2-turn. Somehow Davo got the 2-turn off. Crazy stuff. So Davo's 1-1 and just grinds him down, batters him. Joe's got no answer. Right, Joe's got absolutely no answer. There's nothing he can do. He's being outbashed. He's down a mummy. And then the other one goes as well. And it's just a 2-1 win for Davo there. You know, it was tough because these games happen, right? These games happen. But it was tough. It was tough because Joe at that point was 4-1-0. You know, he was eyeing up a possible win in the individual, and we also knew that all we needed to do was draw the last round. Right. And we would win. the tournament, pretty much. Depending on, there was the other guys, the Captain Oates guys could catch us as well, but because we'd beaten them, we figured that unless they won their round completely, like completely demolished their opponents, we should have the win with the points. So that was tough, and also Joe and Davo have great games versus each other, and I think Davo fully admitted that it was. I don't want to use the word dicing, but it does really help when you've got those removals. When an undead team loses such linchpins like ghouls and mummies, and it is a mirror match, and the other team is losing nothing, it is pretty bleak. So yeah.
I mean, sometimes the dice are in your favour. Like,
yep.
And whether it's a full or a partial bit of a dicing, if you don't want to use the term, I'm happy to use it. It's
Yep.
These things happen.
Yep, absolutely.
What can you do?
Yep, absolutely. So let's take it on now to Raging versus Dr. Hellboy. Underworld off. Raging and I sat down and looked at each other's team rosters, and Raging looked at me and went, "I think your roster is better than mine." And I said, "I think so too." Raging had gone with no Troll and no Rat Ogre. Instead, he'd put everything in to get Varag. He'd not stacked on a Gutter Runner like I had. He'd just taken block. He had a Mighty Blow. Right. He had 6 Snotlings. I only had 4 Snotlings, but he had 6 Snotlings. We both had 15 players. He'd gone for a lot more block, I think block thrower, I think he had. And I kicked to Raging, and I benched my Gutter Runner. Now, Raging thought I was crazy, but I knew what I was doing at this bit. So I knew that I needed to have a shot at the one turn.
Right.
And basically, me and Raging started an attrition war versus each other.
Okay.
I actually had more players on the pitch than he did. Even though he had more Snotlings, he rolled a 1, and I rolled a 2. So I rolled on the D3. He rolled a 1 on the D3, and I rolled a 2 on the D3. So I actually had a player advantage against him.
Right. Okay.
So basically, for the duration of his drive, it was literally blitz a Snotling. Does it break armor? Yes, no. Blitz this. Does it break armor? Yes, no. And we both started very poorly with that. We both failed to remove Snotlings.
Okay.
Then Raging chipped 1, and I didn't chip 1. Then Raging chipped another 1, and I didn't chip another 1. Then Raging chipped a third 1. I chipped 1 back. Raging chipped a 4th 1. I chipped 1 back. Raging chipped a 5th 1. I didn't. And so Raging was just starting to edge ahead on that attrition.
Yeah.
I threw some things at him. He had to do a GFI to score on his own drive, which, given that Underworld have a Gutter Runner, to leave them with a GFI to score on their own drive is pretty good, I thought. I was happy to have been causing enough problems. But Raging went in 1-0. Raging also had enough Snotlings left to set up to put 3 Snotlings with sidestep on the LOS, and he chose to put the Gutter Runner and Varag on the bench for the 1 turn because he didn't want the risk of a vicious ref. For those 2 key players, and that was very sensible. Now, hilariously, having a 15-player roster at this point in time, I actually didn't have enough players left to successfully do a 1 turn to get 2 pushes versus a sidestepper.
Oh, wow.
However, I have Creek.
Oh, no.
Creek with the ball and chain
could do it.
Can hit any other player, including my own Gutter Runner.
Yep.
So I set up to 1 turn with Creek. It requires the double GFI from Creek. But I get, because I missed the Gutter Runner.
Oh.
I repeatedly missed the Gutter Runner. Because I've set up to get as many players as I can for the kick, just to get the ball to the Gutter Runner. Because all I need is 2 pushes. But the kick can screw me, right? So I've set everyone up. Anyway, it requires both GFIs with Creek. Luckily, he doesn't roll a 1 to get the Gutter Runner into range. I then blitz the Snotling that is still there. We're in a tackle zone with the gutter runner. I blitz the snotling, failed to knock the blinking snotling over. So we've still got the snotling tackle zone on the gutter runner for the catch. I make the pass.
Yeah.
I make the catch, and I dodge through the snotling tackle zones because he's put Varag and the gutter runner on the bench. So there is no 3+ dodge anywhere in the sequence because I'm going through the snotling tackle zones.
Yeah, got you.
So it's 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, touchdown, Dr. Hellboy.
Wow.
No reroll, by the way, at that point because I had to use it on the I think I had to use it on the catch.
Yeah.
1-1.
Wow.
Raging with a massive numerical advantage at this point. I think it was 13 versus 9 for the second half.
Wow.
In an underworld mirror.
Yeah, you're struggling.
Yeah. So, I did what I do best. I ran away. Ran away. I hid. He just starts fouling. He's fouling and fouling and fouling. And my blitzer is just holding armor, getting stunned, not removed, getting stunned, not removed, holding, gone. Finally goes. At that point there, I'm like, I just have to go. I can't wait here for him to run at me. I've got to go. Yeah. Joe's lost his game. I have to try and draw the round. So, we go all out. Run down. Raging manages to block his own path. He did have a surf on. If he'd managed to not block his own path, he did have a surf on, but he blocked his own route, so he ran out of movement with his players, unfortunately, because otherwise they would have required a few 3+s, but there was a surf on, but he didn't have that. Instead, he ends up pinning my gutter runner in. So the gutter runner is on the gutter runner has got directly west of the gutter runner is one player, and then northwest is the other player. And then I'm pinned to the sideline. Okay? So I can only go forwards with it. Now, the player that is stood in the square next to the gutter runner is a goblin.
Right.
And I've got a 3+ dodge with no, hang on, I lie. No, the goblin's in front. Sorry, there are 3 players. There's like an L shape of 3 players of his with the gutter runner sandwiched in. So I need to basically, I can knock that goblin over. If I knock that goblin over, I can jump the gutter runner over the goblin and score. Okay, that's basically the play. I can't explain it with words. But I can picture it now. So basically, I have a 3+ dodge for a 2 dice hit on the goblin, where if I roll a both down or a pow, the gutter runner just has to make 1 difficult dodge and then is jumping and running away. Okay? And scoring. Okay, and scoring, and I will score, and it will be 2-1 to me, and if we draw the game, fine, we draw the game. But okay. I give myself a win chance. Sadly I failed the 3+, and the gutter runner gets surfed next turn.
Right.
The ball scatters as far into his half as it possibly can without being in the end zone, and still his gutter runner is able to run back, pick the ball up, double GFI, move forward, double GFI, and at the end of turn 7, he is 2 GFIs away from scoring with the gutter runner.
Whoa.
Okay? Now, at this point here, I look at the board and I realise that in all the excitement, and I mean, this has been a hell of a game, right? This has been an amazing game. Yeah. Me and Raging are loving this. We're good friends anyway, and we're loving this, right? In all of that, Raging has actually left me a snotling dodge in. I mean, it requires, 4 snotling dodges are required to get in, and then it's a simple 4+ push, and I can chain push the gutter runner out of range.
Yeah.
Which he then can't push the gutter runner back into range. Instead, he's gone from needing a 2-2 with a reroll into needing a 2, and then a 3 and a 2.
Wow.
With his other, and given the fact that I'm staring down the barrel of defeat at this point, I will happily take a bunch of 2+ dodges and a 4+, 3+ to push him out of range.
Wow. Yeah, that makes sense.
The snotling makes 1, 2, 3 dodges, and then fails the 4th one.
Oh.
And Raging walks it in for the 2-1, and we clasp hands, have a hug, and Davo and Raging with that submarine and take the title from me and Joe. And me and Joe
Out.
end up as runners-up.
Oh, mate.
Yeah. And
you know what?
Anyway.
At the start of day one, if I'd offered you second, you'd have taken it.
Oh, absolutely. I know. That's why. Well, you didn't know the ins and outs of it all, but I had messaged you, and you said that exact same thing to me, and that was it. Me and Joe were absolutely thrilled with second. Joe in the end finished fourth, so he didn't quite get there to get the title. He finished fourth. I finished eighth, and there were 22 teams there and 44 coaches. So a top 8 finish for both of us individually. And a second place in the team? Absolutely. Brilliant stuff. I had a wonderful, wonderful weekend. And the best bit about it, I said to Joe, unfortunately Joe's not able to go to the Euro Bowl or Euro Open this year. And I said to Joe, actually, that's the thing I'm going to miss most, I think, is the team aspect that me and Joe had. We communicated really well. We kept talking to each other. We'd go for walks in between rounds, stretch our legs, get some fresh air. And just talk about how we were getting on. Talk about what were the tactics for the next round. Were we going to push to win it? Were we happy for draws? Where was it going to sit for individual stuff? We were having some really good conversations. It was lovely team stuff. Really lovely team stuff. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, and I suppose that's a nice thing about being in a smaller tournament. Yeah, only 2 players. That it's. The word intimate feels like the wrong word, but it's closer. Like you're making decisions on a smaller scale as to what to do, and
absolutely.
And every dice roll is a bit more.
But also, you're sat next to each other. You're sat next to each other.
Yeah,
so you can literally lean over to each other and say, I can't win this, or I'm in a good position here, or give me 2 more turns and I'll tell you what you need to do.
Yeah.
So no, really, really, really good fun. So yeah, really, really good fun.
It's excellent, mate. It's excellent.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. And I'm back on the Blood Bowl. I'm back on the Blood Bowl bug, and because I'm off to Water Bowl next weekend. Oh, loving it.
Yeah. Have you submitted your roster?
I have submitted my roster.
Go on then. What are you taking?
Well, have a guess.
Really? Slan?
Yeah, taking Slan. Yeah, of course I am. Yeah.
Oh, you mentalist.
I'm absolutely mental. I'm taking exactly the same build as I've got in the Tackle Zone Team 1. Block Croxagore, 2 Wrestle Linemen, Strip Ball Linemen, and 2 Dodge Catchers. 12 players, 4 catchers, 4 rerolls, Apo, 2 assistant coaches.
Wow.
Exciting times. Looking forward to it. It's going to be dribble and drool everywhere. I think they're allowed. I think dribble and drool are allowed, and I know Varag is definitely allowed. So I think it's going to be dribble and drool and Varag everywhere. So
are you allowing their own stars? Oh,
yeah. Water Bowl are allowing some stars. Not all of them. Some are banned. But yeah.
Hang on. Some are banned, but not Varag.
Yeah. Don't worry. I'll try and find out how many Varags there are on the day.
That seems.
Oh, I forgot to tell you my stat. Versus those dwarves. Okay, the 3 dwarf teams that I faced. Okay.
Of course, yeah.
Casualties. Okay.
Yeah.
In 3 games. Okay.
Yeah.
This doesn't count KOs. Okay. This doesn't count KOs. This is casualties only. I got 1. I had 18 against. And I won 3 out of 3.
To be fair, that seems fair to me.
It is pretty fair. I will happily take that many casualties and still win the games.
6 a game that's fine. I mean, you have such a responsiveness advantage. That's the point, isn't it? So it's just you just lost all 6 Snotlings every game.
I only had 4.
Well, okay. Well, you lost all 4 every game.
Yeah, exactly. I know. Yeah. Shocking. I know. No, there were. I think in 2 of the dwarf games I ended with 5 players left on the pitch.
Ooh.
So pretty.
Won them.
Yeah, won them exactly.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
That's good.
Right. Well, I think it's been a long preamble from me there because obviously I'm the one that's playing the tournament. So hopefully next time you'll have a couple of matches to talk about as well, rather than just a couple of rounds from the FUMBBL.
I'm more than happy to live vicariously through you, Dr. Hellboy. But it'd be. I'll have played a few more games, and you'll have Water Bowl to talk about as well.
Yeah,
so
I will have
good.
Water Bowl to talk about. Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
and it looks like the draw's been made for the FUMBBL.
Oh, amazing! I'll look at that in a minute. Are we playing each
Do you
other?
want to know what you? No. Do you want to know what you've
Oh,
got?
yeah! Hit me with it. Hit me with it live.
Live reaction there. Live reaction on the
Ready?
podcast. You have Norse.
Excellent.
Yes. Zerpils. No idea. That's the coach.
Oh yes.
You were playing. Yeah. So I'm guessing German because the team is called Dieflen Drunkards, which just seems a bit German.
Brilliant.
Yeah, in terms.
Brilliant. Well, when we finish this podcast, I'm going to schedule that game. I'm going to message them immediately because I need to get that game scheduled because I don't have Friday, Saturday, or Sunday to play. I've only got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday because I'm off to Water Bowl, aren't I? So I really don't want to be playing in the hotel room. I really don't want to be playing in the hotel room on Saturday night after 3 games of Blood Bowl.
You'll be on fire by that point.
Well, something will be on fire. Something will be on fire.
Yeah. Absolutely. Good luck with that, my friend.
Thank you very much.
Hope the Water Bowl goes well.
Oh, I'm sure it
always
will.
A good tournament.
Yeah, we love it. We love it.
Yeah, I probably should try and sign up for it next year.
Yeah, you should. You should actually get in. Actually get in and do it. Yeah.
I'm hoping to get a bit more time to maybe play some more tournaments next year. But it's been brilliant to catch up and hear about how everything's been going.
Yeah, it's been wonderful. Yeah, and hopefully everyone listening enjoyed that one. It's only 2.5 hours, so quite a short one from us. So no, fantastic stuff. And we will be back hopefully in at least, I mean, probably at worst 3 weeks' time is probably the worst. That's the longest it'll be. Maybe even a fortnight. So yeah, hopefully we'll get another one of these out pretty swiftly after Water Bowl. So yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thanks for listening, guys, and we'll catch you at the next one. Bye for now.
Bye for now.